Okay, what's up, everybody? Thanks for joining us. Sorry for a bit of a scuffed intro. Aurora is currently on vacation, traveling, doing a bunch of stuff with his family. So he is on the road, but still glad we could do a show this week. For those of you who maybe are here for Kurt and don't know a ton about the podcast, basically we just do this every single week, and it's a lot less like current Smite like this is actually the best build right now going on. Like it's a lot less that, and it's a lot more just like behind the scenes stuff, maybe like memories that we have from all playing with or against each other, and just maybe like scrim stories, stuff that you maybe wouldn't have heard otherwise. So yeah, we're joined this week by Weekend. Many of you will know him for the famous, infamous, whatever you want to call it, the 667 meme. Of course, he is a world champion, Xbox world champion, the first, the one and done, went out on top, and many more accolades to be mentioned. So thank you for joining us this week.
I like I don't know if you guys realize I actually watched this like for weeks beforehand. I like it a lot because like you said, you don't do just like current shit. You do like all the stuff, and hearing people like remind me of stuff I forgot about, it's pretty dope.
Yeah, it's fun for us too, because just going down memory lane, it's crazy how long we've all been playing this game because it just goes
Mhm.
by so fast.
Yep. Yeah, we were talking about it, and I was like, they're like, "Did you play with Aurora?" I was like, "I know I did, but it was like pre SPL, and I don't remember. Like, I don't actually remember what happened at all. Like, I don't remember that shit at all."
I don't think we ever played on a team together, but we played a bunch of ranked, like so much
Wh-
ranked, definitely.
Maybe that's what it was. I just know it was so long ago. Like, it was, I don't know. At one point, I think actually you were one of my most played people against on that little fucking Iris thing.
I believe it.
Uh, yeah, I think it was, which is crazy because I haven't played against you in years. So that just shows how much we used to play.
Yeah, what's it called? I think Zap was mine, and
Mm.
I think there was a couple other people. I think Netroid as well, but that was really cool. I love when they do stuff
Really?
like that. Yeah, I want to see more of that. That's like I love it. I love stats like that. I don't know why.
It is really cool.
It's such a random thing, so like it doesn't matter, but it's pretty interesting to see who you've played a ton of or a ton
Yeah,
against.
for sure. Yeah, so at the start, normally we just go through like super basic stuff to sort of, what games you played growing up, what got you into it. I I think I remember from you a little bit. I don't know the exact extent, but I think you also have a background playing like sports and stuff growing up. So that normally most people that we talk to that have some sort of competitive background, it's like, oh yeah, I played sports and like I still
Yeah.
wanted to kick people's ass, so I started playing games.
Yeah, I mean, that's what it stems from. My first competitive, like, online competitive was Halo 2. And from what I remember from that time is I got internet to like play against people because you play against your friends at home and they all suck and you think you're the best and you want to play and beat everyone online.
Uh-huh.
And then that somehow led me to World of Warcraft, which is there's no like correlation there. I saw my
Dude,
friend
it
play World
was
of
mine, but
Warcraft.
the other order. I went WoW to Halo to Smite.
Yeah, like I don't even know how that happens. They were good games, I guess. You're like you're playing one of the best games. You want to move on, but yeah, that led me to PC, and then for me, Arena was a big thing in WoW, and Smite reminds me of like FPSs meets WoW Arena. Obviously, there's other aspects, but that was what led me to try Smite in the first place. I was like, this is I've played stuff like this. It could be cool to play.
Dude, that's what I
Nice.
say all the time. It's literally like Smite is literally I guess like I played a bunch of League as well. It's like League and WoW just mixed into one, and I
Uh huh.
love it
Yep.
so much. Cuz I
Yeah.
liked League a ton, but I just hated clicking to move. Like I liked playing Arena and WoW like way better and just like moving in WoW. And the game felt so much more like WoW to me than any other game. So I really enjoyed it a lot just because of that.
Have you guys played a lot of you played League? Have you played League or anything PBM? Because I hated top down MOBAs. Like I couldn't stand them. I played them a lot, but I hated
No.
it.
I tried playing it like after I was already playing Smite professionally. I tried to play it in like an off season with like Snoopy and Ionic and some other friends, and like I gave up after like 3 weeks. I just can't do it. Like I still like people were playing Diablo 4 when that got released, and I was like, oh, maybe that seems fun, but I can't do it. Like my brain just can't click to move.
I can play
For me,
top
it's just
down,
frustrating.
but I don't like it either. Like
Mhm.
I every time I played League after I found Smite, I'm like, why am I not just playing Smite? That's literally how I
Hmm.
felt every single time I played
Yeah.
League.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, we went last year. For me, Smite wasn't that fun. So we went and played League a game or two. I was like, this is fun, but not enough for me to like get into it. I'd rather just wait for Smite to have a patch come out or something.
Yeah. What'd you play in WoW? Like what classes?
I played WoW Warrior for like, so I played WoW like when it first came out. I remember being
Yeah.
12 and like it taking me 10 years to hit level 60.
Yep.
Same.
When TBC came out was when I really knew what I was doing in WoW. So I went really hard. I was like main tank in a guild with a bunch of old people and shit.
Mhm.
And then I played that. I met Mindy. If you guys have seen
Yeah.
Zamu Mindy,
Yeah.
he's been in and out of Smite for a while. I played WoW with him in TBC, and he played a druid, and we just played together all the way for years and years and years in there. We were rank 1 and 3s in like season 10 of WoW Arena or some shit, and then for us it fell off after that, and that's what led me to Smite.
Did you play
So
with
I played a
Code?
lot of that. He wasn't good at Arena then. He was like not a competitive gamer, I guess. Like compared to how good he is now at Smite, you never would have known he was going to be that good years ago, which is crazy to me. Because like I was way better than him at WoW, and at the beginning of Smite I was a little bit better. I was better than him, but now he's fucking nuts.
Is he a little
Yeah,
younger than you?
yeah, he's what is he now? 25, 26 maybe. I think he's 25 or 26.
Oh,
He just had
okay.
a
Yeah.
birthday.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I think I'm 5 years older than him.
Yeah, because your progression through WoW is so funny. Because like I think you're 5 olders than me. I think you're 5 years older than me as well. And I was like 7 years old, and I was like one XP behind you. Like
Yeah.
when I was 7, I remember like it took me like months and months and months to hit level 60. And I remember my parents like coming to my room when I hit 60, and they're like, "That's it? There's no like celebration? You play this game all the time?" I'm like, "No, like the game starts now. Like it's time to do some Blackrock Spire, you know? Like let's get
Exactly. That's what it was, dude. I did like one BWL and I was like hooked.
Yeah.
It was like, all right, this is the game. I was done after that.
Yeah, I did the same. I played like I think in BC, my older brother would like drag me along. Like once they had stuff on clear, he would drag me along and like teach me stuff. And then Wrath, I was like, okay, I'm like officially 12 years old. Now I got this for sure. I can definitely play the game now.
It's just crazy to think how long we've played any like just video games for. Like
Yeah.
that progression through gaming. Like there's never gonna be another WoW. There's never gonna be another Halo 2. Obviously, like we have Fortnite and stuff, but it's so different. It's just a completely different thing.
So when you started playing Smite professionally, how old were you? Were you 20?
21,
Yeah.
21, I think. Yeah, because I played Smite and like grinded it a lot. But then I went from I was in a regular college. That was probably when I grinded Smite the most, and I hated it. I came home and kind of did like real life stuff, but not really. I was kind of doing nothing, being just kind of like a loser, to be honest. Went to community college, got into another college, and when I went, I was like, I can't play video games. I got to go get my grades up. So I didn't even hook up my computer. It was just sitting in the corner. And then after my first semester, I got straight A's. I hooked it up, and I think I got on a team within like 2 months, if I'm remembering correctly. It was a month or two after that I got asked to play on a team.
Do you remember which team that was?
That was Snipe. That was like the first.
Oh,
pro
really?
team. Yeah. So because
That's
I think in that first month, like we made teams. Like I played with Incon. He was like a mid laner or something, and like he played with Peckies. Like they had their third place team, whatever that was, and we tried like double fun ball played on that
Slam
team.
Jam City.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
That's
They
such a
had
good team name.
They had the song, the Space Jam theme song or whatever. They'd play it when we'd start the games. Yeah, that was like my progression. And then it was weird too, because a lot of people don't know this. If you played in the beginning, you remember Shing. Like Shing was kind of like at the higher end of Smite. I knew him from WoW. He was on the Alliance side of my server, and he played a rogue. And I would fucking farm him in Arena all day long. Like it wasn't even close. So when I randomly started playing Smite and saw he at the point he was rank 1 MMR, like he was 4K MMR back when it was uncapped, and he was like the number 1. I was like, I farm him in Smite. Like, or wow, I can farm him in Smite. I'm gonna be the best player in this game. That was my thought process. And then I got his spot when he left the team, which is even crazier. Like just the transition through all that was very weird.
That's awesome. I remember when you first started like getting into the higher ranked lobbies. You're probably in them before my memory as well. Like it was right before you got picked up, and you probably don't remember. I played Arachne a lot, all the time, and I
Uh,
played against you a ton. And you used to hate me when I would start. I would put like triple egg my speed, do my speed, do red, and then I would meet you at your red or your speed, no matter or wherever the start was. I can't remember exactly. And then I would get a kill, and you'd be like, "This is the dumbest thing ever." Every single game.
Yeah, because that like you guys kind of still play like this. Like you specifically still play like this. You just play so annoying. So when back then it was so easy to be annoying. There was no 5-man grouping. Nobody was helping you. So I remember the Arachne. I didn't remember it was you, but I remember having Arachne just run at me and be like, "This is the stupidest fucking thing in the world." Like not wanting to play the game.
A funny story. You were saying how you play with Shing. So Kiki, one of your teammates that you play with, I know him really well, and I actually came to the first LAN that you played at actually, just as like a friend of Kiki's.
Mm.
And did you ever play Bloodline Champions or no?
I know that I played the game, but I don't think we played it a lot. It was like kind of like a top down, but more third, like a mix between top down and third person, right?
Yeah, I was terrible at it, but my brother, my younger brother, my middle brother, Lorlo, he was really,
Mm.
really good at it, and he played with Kiki, and Kiki's name was Coma Black. And Kiki had Kiki had a account in Smite also named Coma Black. And I remember I played against him all the time, and I thought he was so bad in Smite. He literally played Ymir like every game. For some reason, like when he was first starting in ranked, and I'd always farm him. And I'm like, "Are you the guy that played with my brother from Bloodline Champion?" So it's funny, like how like there's like so many small connections like within the Smite world. That's so interesting. I feel like.
Yeah, everything's intertwined, and you don't like a lot of time you don't even learn it till later. Like you hear about the big streamers that are all played Smite. Like I think Aiden from Call of Duty played Smite. A bunch of the big Fortnite guys before they played in Fortnite were Smite like masters players or and some stuff. That's kind of I don't know. That's wild.
That's
Weird
awesome.
connections.
Yeah, I feel like it'll only keep coming up, especially like the COD scene is kind of interesting. I didn't think about it until you just said it, but like I feel like console Smite got pretty big for like a few years there when they like just first initially put it on like Xbox, all that. So I bet you there are actually a lot of people like in the console scenes that did play it at least like a little
That's
bit.
what I thought when I heard it. It was like, well, it was probably one of the only free to play games at the time. Like that wasn't
Yeah.
the meta for games. So a lot of them had to at least tried it at some point.
Yeah, for sure.
It was like the only MOBA as well that was like really accessible, that was actually good on console, I think, at least from my memory. There might have been another one, but Smite was definitely, I think, the best one out there.
Yeah, you might have had like a mobile style one or something, but no big
Yeah.
ones. Like even now, there's really no big ones that compete with Smite at all.
Yeah, not nearly as polished, that's for
Yeah.
sure. So when you got picked up, it was Snipe at the time or was it Complexity? I don't remember the names.
It was Snipe because we had
Okay.
T-shirts and Snipe on them. No, and they were like collared, like
You had a
I
pocket.
don't know who ordered them. What'd you say?
You had a pocket as well, right? And
Yeah,
you had
yeah,
the
I had a
Snipe
little
logo on the
pocket,
pocket.
yeah.
I remember that.
Yeah, yeah. And I don't know who picked those or where they came from, but yeah, that was the thing.
That's awesome. Do you remember who asked you to join that team? How did that happen?
I think it was Incon. I think Incon. No, wait. No. It was Incon was the one who officially asked me, but Allied was the one who messaged me first because I had never had a conversation with Allied at the time, but we'd played like I was playing all the time back then, like as much as I could. So I'd play against him a lot. So he knew who I was, but we had never conversed. So I think he messaged me. It might have been at the same time as Incon. Incon was like, "Hey, we want you to play," but Allied had like a conversation with me or whatever. And it was basically, you want to come play because he's leaving to go play solo over there. And it was for me, it was instant yes. Like that was my whole goal the whole time. It was pretty like the timing and everything was just kind of nuts. I remember thinking about just how perfect everything played out. Like literally, like I remember I was rank 1 and ranked at the time. I was playing 2 accounts. I had rank 1 and rank 2 at the time, I think, or going into it. So I knew how good I was. And it was me and I think DJ Pern that were like the top 2 not on real teams yet. So being able to scrim and then instantly ask me to play because it was like, we want you to play, but we're also trying out DJ. And I scrimmed. We had 4 scrims, and at the end of the scrims, they were like, "We want you to come to LAN." And that was the other thing. That was like tryouts to go to a LAN. There was no. I tried out, and then we scrimmed for a week. I didn't scrim for the next week because I was at the beach, and then I flew from the beach to the LAN.
That's
Okay,
awesome.
so this timeline was when I first started playing Smite, like around the time when all this is happening. So I don't fully remember. I remember watching that LAN. Was SPL a thing then, or was it
No.
after that tournament it became a thing?
It was after. That was like the launch, like the SPL's
Okay.
coming up launch tournament. It had no effect on anything except for a cool land for them to promote the game, I think, and throw some money to players.
Gotcha. Because I think it was Cog Red won that, right? They won that tournament. Is that correct?
Was Cog Red a thing? See, I don't remember all the teams that were there. We came in third. We were like the third place team.
No,
Oh yeah, that's what I was gonna ask.
Yeah, there was no red. There
Yeah.
was no red.
Cog Red
Yeah.
didn't exist yet. That was regionals when Cog Red
Yeah,
played.
it was
Oh.
Dig won that land. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, because I remember watching you guys, and I thought you finished second, but second or third. That makes sense. So that was your first like official game and 1st LAN and everything with them.
Yeah,
That's really
and it
cool.
was a LAN. It was weird too because most of them were friends. Like they'd been to there was a LAN before that. I forgot what it was. There was 2 LANs I think before that. So they all knew each other. The people from High Res knew them, and I was just like the new guy. And I remember like DM Brandon was there, like trying to ego. Like he was mad because for something. He came up to me and was like one of the first people to talk to me, and it was like you need to check your ego weekend or something like that.
What? Wait, that's how he introduced himself.
Yes,
Okay.
first conversation. Yeah.
Yeah, that
I
sounds about
think
right.
I'm trying to think. It was cool though because I mean I was 21, but I'd never flown before. Right, that was my first time flying, so I flew by myself to meet a bunch of people that I knew for a couple days on the internet. But it was actually cool, like because I played with Incon at the time, so we were good friends then. Jeremy, even though he's kind of a psycho or whatever now, he was actually nice at the time, and then Allied, like everyone knows Allied, so it was it was a good experience. It was pretty cool.
What'd your parents think, like when you left since you were like you were still like I mean you weren't young, but like it was probably like one of your first times maybe traveling alone, or have you?
It was my first time traveling alone. I was at the beach, and I think it was with my now wife, but that was like she was like a newer girlfriend, so she stayed with my parents for the last 2 days. I left 2 days early. I think they kind of got it because I'd played games for so long, and I've always been serious.
That, by the way.
Oh,
like just stay here with my parents alone. It'll be cool. See ya.
Looking back now, probably not. Luckily, they have a good relationship. They're like really, really close now. But yeah, probably she was probably a little weirded out. But it was like something I'd always wanted to do, and my parents knew it. Because when I was playing Halo, I was really good. Like I'd play ranked and I'd play against the pros in the game. But I had at that time there was no get online and like go to a LAN. That didn't happen. You had to go to like MLG tournaments. So for the 8 years of me hardcore gaming, my parents knew I wanted to play. So I don't think they even questioned it. I think they were just like, go have fun. My mom was more worried. Like, text me when you get there, tell me when you got your hotel room, all that stuff.
What about Mindy? What did he think? Was he like, this is cool, or was he like, what the heck is going on?
I think at that point we weren't like, because we'll go through periods where we don't talk much. Like he'll get into like Diablo 4. I started playing Diablo 4, but I stopped and he kept playing. When that happens, we message back and forth, but we don't talk every day. At that point, I don't remember why, but he stopped playing Smite. I remember a lot of people thought he would troll when he was playing, but he was actually trying. So I think maybe he got discouraged. So I don't think I was talking to him much then. I know like during the LAN, he'd message like watching the games and shit like that. So I think he thought it was cool. But he doesn't really leave his house that much. So I knew I'd never play on a team with him. Like, I don't think he even wants to travel and go play, which is weird, but that's his own thing. People are like that. So I figured, I pretty much knew the whole time I played games with him, but I would never play professionally with him. And it was just normal. I think I'd been solo queue Smite back then, right? Like we all just kind of did our own thing. Some people had their little friend groups and stuff. That's what led me to streaming because I was bored. I didn't have anyone to talk to.
Nice.
Were you streaming before you got picked up by Snipe?
Yes. I don't remember I know I was streaming ranked. I don't think I was doing like coaching or like teaching content then at that point. I think I was just playing, and like Met Yankee was one of the first people in my stream. One of my good friends now, Jade Dragons, I met him through my stream and then learned that he lived like really close to me. It was pretty much just like, and then like Mindy, like he's like talking to like 3 or 4 people while you played ranked, so you had something to do. Because those queues and everything get really old. It just like
that's awesome that you just got like a random Met Yankees sighting in there as well.
Yeah.
Love that guy
because he's been around forever too, or was around for a very long time, and I met him like early on.
Dude, Met's actually a legend though. People forget how good he was in season 3. We were talking about that. Was it last week or like 2 weeks ago maybe? But he was insanely good. It's crazy.
He was so funny too. He was such a funny ring player.
Was that when he was on Soar? Yeah. He's a really nice and funny guy too. So
he's awesome.
I like him.
Yeah, he was cracked on Soar. Okay, so you'll have to kick my memory in here a little bit because I think so. I remember first getting into SPL a little bit at the end of, I guess, season 1 and into Worlds and all that. So going into season 2, you guys swapped Kiki to mid, right? And then you picked up Spin. Is that
Yeah.
correct?
Yeah.
How did that come to be? Like, did you have any influence on that, or you're just like, I'm just here along for the ride?
I'm pretty sure, if I'm remembering correctly, we were like all talking, and it was like, I think Kiki or someone was like, "Can we get Cyclone?" Because we knew Kiki was friends with them, or they had some relationship. And for some reason, I remember Kiki being like, I don't know, like very unsure about it. And then the next thing you knew was like he would play. He was like, yeah, I'll play. So I mean, he was, even though their team, was that Chunks? Was that you guys? Yeah, even though your team wasn't like popping off, back then the skill gaps like individually were huge. Like you could just tell when somebody was outperforming everybody else, and he was nuts. Like
crazy
that one LAN or whatever he played in, I just remember coming back and being like, how did he do like some of the stuff that he was doing? So we wanted to play with him, and it was almost a no-brainer. Like, let's swap Kiki. He's already playing mages in the solo, so let him go do whatever he wants in mid. And I think Jerby also struggled with listening to calls at that point in time. He would like try to override what everyone else wanted to do. So it was just an easy swap as soon as Cyclone said he would come play with us.
Did you guys click instantly? Because that's kind of how it seemed from the outside looking in.
I think so, yeah. I mean, at that time, I mean, nowadays everyone kind of thinks they can be the best. At that point in time, we were third. Like that was it. It was like nobody below us was better than us, and we all knew it. But the teams above us, we weren't better than at that point. So it's really easy when you aren't planning on winning every game to just work on improving and kind of working on, you know, the little things, I feel like. And nowadays that doesn't happen. Nowadays, if you aren't winning early, you start to question, is the team good enough? Is the players good enough? So I think that helped a lot. But yeah, it was more of, we beat the teams we expected, so we were happy, and we were just working on things getting better. And then when things finally just clicked, or when they did start clicking, it was out of nowhere. It was like everything aligned somehow.
You guys dominated like you and Cyclone. I feel like that, like was it from spring all the way through summer basically until like all of spring, or was it, no, sorry, what's the first split? Yeah, no, yeah,
I think it was spring
to summer, through summer, and then fall split you guys started like not struggling but like not playing as well, I feel like, right?
It was when Bluestone came out, so it made Warriors really like easier to play. I mean, if you go back and watch, Cyclone was doing some dumb shit. Like he'd play like you know, an AA god into Osiris and win. It'd be like Omega, like the second best soul in it, right? Like the shit that never should have worked, because he was just that much better. But when Bluestone came in the game, it limited that gap. I think just you really didn't have to be that great to take advantage of Bluestone. That was what the first turning point, I think, where Cyclone could still carry, and we knew he was still good enough, but it was not as simple to get him there. And then other things fell apart later on. Like I know supports got nerfed, or something got nerfed, so Incon's got pulled change.
Oh, I know what it was.
You do? I've actually been wondering this for years. I don't remember specifically what it was.
Okay, can I come back to it? Is that fine?
No, that's fine.
Yeah. Okay. So season 2, I remember. You remember it was like Release Bologna. She was like broken, right? I think, did you guys finish first in the regular split? I don't remember that, but I remember the tournament.
I think we were. Wait, I'm trying to remember.
You were at least top 2
because we went into a LAN. Not when we weren't the best team, we were third, and no one would scrim us because we had started to win every game. Like at the LAN, when, you know, everyone would go scrim for a couple hours, nobody would scrim us, and we won that LAN. I don't remember which one it was. It was season 2 at some point. It was at that LAN when we won that was the moment where, like, okay, we're now better than everybody, and I don't know why. It just, you know, it was like at that moment it just started happening.
Remember go ahead, Max. Sorry.
Was that the combat pause LAN? I was there actually as well, visiting, or was that the?
No, we lost the combat pause LAN. We ended up
that was
losing
against TSM, right?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, because I remember I watched that LAN at home, and you guys literally played. I think you guys played. Were they TSM in season 2, Cog Red, or no?
Yeah, I think so.
You guys played them in the first round, I think, and you guys like destroyed them. I remember Cyclone played like, it was either Sun Wukong or Guan Yu. Is one side of the matchup.
It was a mystical male Guan. Is that right?
Oh
my god!
And then he played Ullr, and he got like a quadra kill as well. It was like insanity.
Yep, I think that was one of the first LANs that really had like high energy too. I remember that was I think it was a smaller setup they had changed to, instead of being on a stage or some shit.
That was at the studio,
right? I remember being able to yell like you're like getting shit on, and you would hear it through their mics, like you would hear it across the
Dude,
whole thing.
we
So
were
it was,
we were talking about that with Pern a couple weeks ago because you know like now they have us all in booths and stuff, and
mhm.
a lot of the newer players don't realize like it was so funny back then. Like it took me like a year or two to maybe come into my own with that, but like it was so fun to like you had like this little like bleacher set up and we had like a
Mhm.
bunch of like couches and chairs like all over the studio. And I felt like everybody like kicked it up a notch because like not only were you like hyped, you're playing on land, like you're trying to win, but like you're also kind of trying to like make other people laugh or like show off a little
Yep.
bit.
Yep.
It was
Exactly.
so funny. Like people like you or like DJ. Do you remember some of the EU guys like Maniac and Trix and Freddy? Like they would do the same thing.
Yep. It
I
was you make a play and it would just be like scream. And it would be scream whatever came to your mind. Like it wouldn't be like
and the
flipped at all.
and the comms were so horrible, but you were just like screaming over everyone. It was like a rank game, but with like screaming in between it. It was so
It's funny
troll.
because I remember that time, like you'd yell something and then you'd hear your own teammates laughing at you because
Yeah.
they're just taking it in too. Like it's everyone realizing like this person's just yelling in this small room. It's fucking hilarious.
I remember that tournament is what kind of made me like it got me really into just competitive Smite or the SPL in general because at the time I was just like in school and I wasn't taking the game that seriously. And I remember that LAN, I was like, okay, this stuff is sick. Because I remember Spin played like he either played a different god every single game that tournament or like a different god other than like maybe one other game he like
I think it
repeated.
was a different god every game.
Yeah,
And
dude,
the
and they
vibes
made
then
no
were
sense,
different too,
man.
dude.
Dude,
It was like I'm trying to override you, but back
No, you're
then the
good.
one thing that I remember is like you would end a game and you go talk to the casters or like somebody afterwards. Like it wouldn't be like feedback, but it would be like you'd go and talk about stuff. And I remember we won that land. Like someone came up was like, Cyclone, you know you played a different god every game, and then like the allied pentakill, like people that weren't people that worked at high res were coming up and like congratulating him. So it's such a different vibe. So I don't know. I don't think we'll ever have that again, to be honest.
It was so unique as well because like the stuff he was doing, he was just styling on people. Like I remember Bologna was so broken. I think you guys played against Zalia, and Zalia was playing Bologna, and Spin's like, yeah, I'll just play Alquang against that. And he like makes
Yeah.
no sense at all. And I remember they did an interview, and he was like trying to justify it. Like I think it was like Bart was like, oh yeah, like do you think like Alquang's good because of this? Like you can do this interaction, and Spin's like, no, I just kind of think like I don't know, I'll just kill him. And he just killed everybody. That's all he did.
And he's not trolling. Like
Yeah.
we would have like our 4 picks planned out. Usually, like we'd have a rough set of gods we want to play, and then we get the cycle and be like, "What do you want to play?" Like with no clue what he's about to say, and he can say anything. We'd be like, "Okay." It wouldn't even be a question. It would just be like, "All right, let's go. Here we go. Free win."
That was literally season 6 as well, to be fair, which was funny. Like when he get season 6, yeah, it was season 6 where you could play all the gods in
Yeah.
duo lane. He was like on God randomizer that entire year. It was awesome.
Yeah, it was kind of funny too, because I remember watching your guys' team, and Cyclone, of course, was like stealing the show because everything he was doing was like so flashy and he was carrying. But I know maybe Aurora and I have talked about this a little bit. I think that team as a whole, like your duo lane was super solid, but I think actually the way you and Kiki played was really interesting because Kiki was like one of the original. I just remember playing against him, and he was so annoying. Like he was one of the first, like he was like one of the first like Opwash players when Opwash first came out. That god was so annoying. He did the same with like he played random stuff like Athena mid, yeah, Eset, Afro, like any god that would just like kind of piss you off to play against. Yeah, Kiki was so good at, and I remember for a little while you had a bit of a reputation. Like people kind of thought that you were like. I remember people were either super like polar ends. They were either like, oh yeah, like Weekend is really, really good, or they're like, Weekend's trash. All he does is camp Cyclone's lane. Like he gets carried by Cyclone. Like
it was a mix of that and like at that time the OP gods were Thor and like assassins, and playing anything like other than that and going tank or hybrid was not a thing. So it was like you're not playing the game right. That's not even good. So I was getting shit on for that. And then it was like Cyclone was carrying, but that was kind of the thing. Like you said, Kiki would play to be annoying, and I did the same thing. We didn't have to kill everybody. We didn't have to carry the game. We had Allied who would die once and then say, "I'll see you at 30 minutes," and he was dead serious. So I wasn't playing around Allied, and I don't know if people understand, like that was a real thing. Like if Allied died once, he didn't check out of the game, but he checked out of wanting to fight and just wanting to farm. So he would only fight when he knew it was a free fight. So it's like, all right, I'm going to the other side of the map. I can kill Cyclone's lane over and over again because he's just better than that. It's just simple. Like I have to go land one ability and he's going to do the rest of the work. And at that time, there was less 3-man fighting a lot, like less support jungle mid. It was like me and Kiki could kind of go and do dumb stuff. And I guess it did just synergize, not on purpose. We never talked about it. It just worked out.
I'm kind of curious what led you to that playstyle because, again, I was not at the top level of ranked back then, but like, you know, generally in ranked, it's like the adapting playstyle is like what kind of carries games. You know, it's like just play a hyper carry, just like clean up all the kills. I'm kind of curious what led you to that conclusion of like, oh, I want to play the game this way. I want to be like a jungler that can like kind of set up. I can get in there. I can be a bruiser. Because back it was super unpopular, like you said. Everybody kind of hated it.
I played. Yeah, that's what I played. I played Nem at the first line. I played Nem, and I was like popping off. I played like first SPLs, but I was playing like Mercury and stuff. And I remember having like a 15 kill game against. It was when Dig started to fall off, and Barracuda's team became number one. We beat them, like we slaughtered them. Like it was a 10-minute match, which was unheard of. And then I don't know how it happened, but we picked Odin and it wasn't supposed to be mine in a scrim. And we forgot to trade or something. And that's where everything came from. We picked Odin that one game and we railed whoever it was, and it wasn't a bad team. I know that. And I think when I was playing Odin, I tried to go damage and it like kind of worked, and I realized I needed to live longer. And then I just tried on other shit. It was like, if this worked on Odin, why won't this work on Athena? Why won't this work on a bunch of other stuff? And it did.
Were you maybe you'll remember this as well, or were you the first, like, I want to know who started building Circuit as a bruiser? Because
that's what I was going to say, literally.
Yeah.
I was going to say exactly. I'm pretty sure Weak3n was like the first one. Maybe not like
it might have been
extremely bruiser, but like you built like one tank item when you played Circuit.
Yeah, it probably was, just because like once I adapted the like Odin playstyle, when I couldn't one-shot somebody like you could in a rank game because it's competitive, it just doesn't happen as much. I started to realize like I could go with these other items. I wouldn't die because maybe I'd engage poorly, but I go this item and it kind of bails me out. I don't remember if I was like the first. I don't want to take that credit, but it wouldn't surprise me just because at the time I was getting shit on by like pro players. Like Gars, he's one of the best Thor players ever play the game. He at one point was like, "Do I really have to play tanks? Like tanks in the jungle? This is bullshit. This isn't even real jungling." Like he was mad about it. So I would be surprised if anyone else at the competitive level had done it first. To be honest,
it's so funny how it doesn't matter how late you get into Smite as like a competitive player. Like there's that first level of like denial for every jungle where they're like, I don't really have to play this in like a bruiser meta, do I? And then they hit this like acceptance point and they're just like, they're so sad and they're like, okay, I guess I'll just one shot everybody and be tanky. It's fine, you know. What a horrible role.
Yeah, it's like on paper it's not exciting, but then the first time it works, you're like, okay, wait a minute, like maybe I'm all right with this.
But what I was gonna say is, I feel like when I thought of you, like in the earlier seasons, like you were saying, like the two gods that come to my mind are Circuit and Merc. Like I feel like you owned on those gods, like literally every game you played them in SPL and just in ranked as well. I feel because I'm gonna give you the credit of you being the first Circuit to build hybrid. Maybe some random person did in ranked, but you were definitely the best player.
Definitely the one reason you were the first I remember.
Yeah, the one reason I do think it probably was me was because I don't know if you remember, but Circuit came out when we were at a LAN, and while we were at the LAN, Circuit dropped and everyone said she sucked. They were like, she's trash. Nobody was playing her. So I don't know why, but in my head I was like, these people are idiots. I'm gonna go play Circuit right when I get home. And I was the first person to build crit on her and like find out that was like early meta, like the way to make it work. So I probably did get shit on running crit Circuit in a scrim and was like, I'm going tank. Fuck this. Like, I'm done with this. Because I've done that a lot. I don't want to skip ahead too much just because we're on this topic, but I remember Invade meta, maybe season 5 or something like that. I got sick of you guys you two specifically, running at my fucking speed buff. So I started buying boots. I started buying like full boots at like level 1 and just running back at you guys. I was like, I'm done with this. And that became a meta at one point. So if I got annoyed with something, I would just like bash my head into a wall and try to change some shit.
I feel like that's the best way to be. Like if you just accept being like playing your one style and not being willing to change and at least try something new, even if it doesn't work, at least you're trying to figure it out. Like just sitting there and just being like, oh, I'm gonna do the same thing again and I'm gonna lose again and just complain that this thing is OP and
hopefully my teammates play better, I guess. I don't know.
That's what it is. Yeah, you're like, all right guys, I'm fucking done. You guys play the game. It gets annoying, but I don't think people realize if they never play competitive, you have to get your teammates on the same page to try shit. Like you have to make them realize like this game might go to shit real fucking quick, and you know that's just the way it is.
How was your guys' team environment back then? Because how old's Kiki? Or is he like a couple
He's
years?
my age.
I think
Okay,
him and
yeah.
Incon were the
He's
same
28
age.
or
Then you guys
yeah.
were, at least in Smite terms back then, you guys were a pretty like old team compared to like, I mean, like that COG Red TSM team were like 15 years old, right?
Yeah, I
So
think like for NA based at least, we had some of the older players, or at least it was like, well, we had Cyclone too, who was the youngest. So he kind of
right. Yeah, he bounced it
he
out a
was like
bit.
14 or something. Yeah, so he balanced it out a lot. I mean, I think I'm like 9 years older than Cyclone, or like
Mhm.
somewhere in there, eight somewhere. So like that alone, and then at the time before he picked up Cyclone, Jerby was old as fuck. I don't know how old he was, but he's like 6 years older
I mean,
than
if
me.
you're saying
So.
he's old as fuck, he must be ancient, right? That's how that goes.
Yeah, I
I'm
don't who and Allied is actually like my exact age. His birthday was 2 days before mine, I think. I think he was 2 days before me. I think he's August 8th. So yeah, we did definitely have an older team.
I'm kind of curious about that because back then, I guess tying this into the streaming element of it as well. Back then, I don't know how well you remember. Weren't we screaming at like 7 p.m.? Like that was the normal like
Yeah.
SPL scrim time. Yeah, so we were all like,
Yeah.
we're all screaming at like 7 p.m. and then people might have like school or other jobs or it might be streamers or whatever else. I'm kind of curious about that kind of like work balance, how you started figuring that out with streaming, and maybe how you felt your guys' team environment was back then when it came to the stuff you said, like trying stuff or playing that late at night. Like, do you feel like energy was good? Like, how did you view all that stuff back then?
That it was strange. So I think most of us were nighttime. Like Allied would
Yeah,
play
Allied
until
was a
5
night owl
a.m.
for
Yeah.
sure. Yeah.
Cyclone was in West Coast, so like he's playing on Shitty Ping, but it's earlier for him. I remember actually waiting for him to get home from school. Like I think that was like our thing was we had to wait for him to get home from school to play, and then also be done before Incon fell asleep because he fell asleep at like 8:30 or
Oh
9
yeah,
or
because
some
he's
shit,
always
dude.
been a morning guy, huh? That's so
Yeah.
true.
So for me, I was in college. So there was a lot of times where I'd be in school during the day, I'd do my homework, and then I'd have to go do like a meeting with like a group or some shit. And then I have to be like, hey guys, like I gotta go play video games.
That's awesome.
And luckily at the time, streaming was all right. So like I would like if it was like a series group project, I'd buy like pizza or something because I'd have to go back. Like I'd go home, scrim, and then I'd go back and do my meeting shit. And even when that wasn't happening, I mean, I started stream at like 10 or 11. And I've talked about that on my stream where nowadays it feels weird. Like if I don't start stream at 7, it's like, is it too late? But back then I started at 10, 11, like whenever I could. You're just playing to play. I know our environment was good, but it wasn't like everyone was best friends. I think that's one thing that really gets misunderstood. Like really misunderstood.
About your team
So, like,
specifically, or just in general?
maybe in general, but I think also because we were all like content creators in one way. Even Cyclone, like he wouldn't talk, but he'd throw up his streams and stuff. And we were at the top. Like you were talking about me, Incon, Allied. The only people bigger was like DM Brandon. There was no like pro players that were really bigger. I think everyone thought everyone was best friends, but at least like this is my memory, and I don't want to try to be biased, but for me, Incon was probably the least intertwined in the team. Like he would get on in scrim and then he'd be gone. We didn't sit around talking or anything like that. Where like me, Allied, and Cyclone would play ranked all night when it was 3 Qs, or me and Allied would queue, or just different stuff like that. Me and Kiki are still friends now, so that kind of shows. Like Kiki came to my wedding, how most of us were actually friends, but he was kind of on the out. But it wasn't like a bad relationship. It was just I mean, timing, I guess, probably led a bit thing. You said he woke up in the morning. He was always a 7 a.m. like streamer playing during the day. But I think that also led to when we did make changes, it was easier to put it on him, on top of the fact that he was the one that wasn't on our schedule. So we had a LAN.
Sure.
I think it was, what LAN was it, man?
Was it regional
I think
season 2?
It was, yeah, regional season 2. The games we were playing best of 5s. And I think the game before ours, I think the game before ours went 5, and then ours went 5. And at like 10:30, Incon's like, I can't keep my eyes open. And we're all like, bro, are you like in my mind? I'm like, are you fucking kidding me?
Dude, we played the day after you guys because you guys were on the other side of the bracket, and we were the same deal. We were against C9, I think, and the set before us, I think, was like, maybe it was like TSM Enemy or something like that. I don't remember exactly, but they also, like, whatever set was before us, they also went like full length, and we didn't start playing until we started playing at like 9:30, 10 p.m. or something.
Yeah.
Like we finished at like 1 or 2 a.m. and it was so rough. That land was crazy. I wanted to, now that we're on that, I'm pretty sure. So there was I don't know how well you remember it. There was the DDoS thing in season 2, right? Where like, did your guys' team? Did you guys have that? Any of you?
So I don't know how. All right, so like I'm just gonna preface. That was when C9 was the best team. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, they
and
were.
like Barracuda and Anderson just kept getting knocked off every SPL game. I don't think we ever found out who was supposed to be doing it, but somehow we didn't get hit for a while. So we were like, is it one of our fans? But then one of the bigger games came up and they knocked off me and Kiki. But I had gone out of my way to figure out how we could set it up on our phones to get on the internet.
You like got a hotspot or something.
Yeah, I knew ahead of time. So as soon as it happened and I knew what was happening, I was like, I was on the call Kiki. I was like, do this, and this. Set up your phone. Don't join comms. And we played a game with we had Mumble back then or something like that.
Yeah.
Was what we were using for comms. No Mumble, so nobody in comms, and we won the game. I remember just winning the game with like double our normal ping on our phone internet. And I think I tweeted afterwards, like, nice try to boot us off, get shit on, like all that, all that stuff, like taunting whoever it was. And then it never happened again. We never got hit by it again.
Season 2 was crazy because I forgot to mention this earlier, but like the scrims were also so trolling, kind of like you said, like there was always someone on like the outside of every team, like just because you were saying, like you were like prefacing it in a nice way, like it's nothing personal, it just kind of like happens. Because I remember when Aurora had left and I took his spot on Eager, they were already scrim partners with you guys. So like my like indoctrination to the SPL was like, I am now scrim partners as a rookie diamond support. I'm not even a masters yet. Like I'm a rookie diamond support and I'm scrimming against the best team in the world. You guys, I think you won spring and I think maybe you lost to TSM in 5 at summer or something, right?
Yeah.
Like,
we had a crazy run. And I think you guys talked about this on the podcast before, how back then when you were undefeated, or when you went, when you won games, it was like 32. It was like tons of individual games. Like you were talking 30 games, not like 8 sets of 2.
Yes.
And I don't know what our streak was, or what the exact record was, but it was crazy. It was it wasn't like adapting and them crazy. Their shit was what was like over the top.
Yeah, no, that's just because EU is trash other than them, so that just happens.
It was a really good record. That's all I remember. I just remember like it was to the point where we didn't think we were gonna lose. Like there was no question about it. We could do whatever we wanted. We could draft however we wanted. We weren't really planning. Like we would talk about it, but we weren't planning too much ahead. We were just doing whatever the fuck we wanted, and we were winning every game.
Dude, I'm so glad you described it that way, because I remember when I started scrimming against you guys, I had no idea like the whole team dynamic stuff. I was pretty new to that. And I remember like anytime Toli would die, like I could just tell like there was like a Zap like rage meter. Not like literally raging, but like he got a little bit angrier every time Toli died. I remember like one of the first blocks I played, I don't think anything happened in duo. It was just like a normal duo lane stalemate, same thing in mid. And I remember it was like 3 minutes back then, like mid harpy spawned to 3 minutes. So like all the side laners would like rotate to the mid lane to like try to contest them. And I remember like I see like this random like a Wheelix solo like roam up to our solo side mid harpies. I just hear triple kill, and I just hear like Zap just cues his mic, and he's like, "Guys, what the fuck is happening?" He's like he's like totally like, how are you behind 3 levels? Like the game just started. What are you doing? And Totally like, yeah, I'm like stacking my trans. I got to scale. He's like, Totally, you're Wukong against a Wheelix. What do you mean you're trying to scale? And he's like, yeah, no, just trust me. Like I get the transcendence fully stacked. And Zap was like, I'm done. Like I can't do it. That was like one of my first scrim sessions. I remember. I
remember
clearly.
That like vividly. Not that specific one, but if Cyclone got a kill on Toli in like the first 2 minutes, the game was over. Like we knew it was over. They could play as long as they wanted, but that game was we were winning.
Dude, it felt like my teammates, like it was at the time, it was like Lassus, Dare, and Zap. It felt like they were like, they had like war veteran like PTSD, and it was just like something clicked in their eyes. Like they were just so done with it. But it's kind of funny because it's not like a bad thing, but Toli was definitely like the odd man out in terms of like how he saw the game, who he wanted to play. And it kind of reminded me a little bit of like back then. I feel like it was so common for like one change to just completely swap a team, like how good they were. Like you guys did it with Cyclone. when we got Omega, we started to be like competing like towards the top as well.
Even
And I
now.
remember in that fall split, okay, I think this is what happened with Incon. I'm not 100% sure. But I remember I scrimmed against you guys. The whole reason I brought up the summer scrims, I was getting out hogged on every single objective. That was back then. Hog had like an execute threshold, and I lost it to Incon 100 out of 100 times. I would never get it over him unless I CC'd him. Like if I Athena taunted him, like yeah, obviously, like I'll get it, you know. But other than that, Incon was so crazy at like winning those like little objective fights. He forced me to go to instant cast back then. Like Incon's the reason I play instant cast now was literally because of that. And they changed Hog. They removed the objective mechanic of it. And then I remember
that's crazy.
They removed the objective mechanic of it, and I'm pretty sure Incon hated it. I'm pretty sure he hated it, and he like hated support a lot more because of that. And then I remember going into regional. So the standings, for those who don't remember back then, we were tied with you guys record. Oh no, we were one game behind you. We beat you guys head to head. We were like 3-1 against you. Oh, we got to touch on the 6-6-7 game because that was that split as well. Yeah. So we were like 3-1 against you guys. I think you were like going back to the record thing. You guys were like 20-7, and we were like 19-8, and then C9 was like 18-9 or something like that. Like the individual game score was so crazy back then.
Yeah.
And you guys went into regionals, and then you role swapped Kiki and Incon. I gotta know, like, what was the reasoning for that? Like, how did that happen?
Incon, all I remember was how fucking bad Incon was playing, and it wasn't like just
he was really good before that too. For the record,
yes,
like, I don't know what
he
happened.
was. Like you said, he was great. Everything synergized well. It might have been the Hog throwing him off, but everything got thrown off. It wasn't just his mechanics. It was he would go into fights when no one was there. Like he'd be like, got a 4-man taunt, and we'd be like, we're on fucking Fire Giant on the other side of the map while you're on dual lane. Like it was that, like, maybe not that, that's a little exaggeration, but it was bad. And his communication got thrown off. I think something else happened other than just Hog, because I remember his god pool changing. I don't know if support god pool changed, like if certain gods were just being better, but I remember he was like big on Athena. He would play Geb and he would play Sylvanas. And I don't know if it went to a more aggressive support play or what, but it was just so every scrim was bad. And when we break down gameplay, it's like, well, Cyclone's playing the same. I'm playing the same. Kiki's playing the same. Allied's doing the same shit. But this one, like everybody on their own can come to the same conclusion. Like this was a problem. And I don't know why we did the specific swap other than it was bad. Like scrims were bad. I mean, we went from never losing scrims to I think we didn't win scrims for like 3 weeks in a row. So we were like, fuck it. Incon played mid before he played support in the SPL or in pro. Like he would play ESET and like that's how he grinded rank too. Yeah, Zhong Kui. Yeah. It was Zhong and ESET. And when we went to LAN, I guess it was kind of stupid now looking back, like in hindsight, but he had a 2 god pool. It was ESET and it was Zhong Kui. And it wasn't good. It wasn't like he was better than everybody at those gods. It was just like that's what he could play. So in reality, it probably wasn't the best swap, but we did only lose, like we barely lost when we did the swap. I think we went to 5 games, if I'm remembering correctly. Like 5 games to enemy or TSM
it was against enemy. Yeah,
it was enemy. That was when he was too tired to play. And that was where everything just like it was game 5. He played Zhong Kui. He was too tired to play.
Oh,
and
that
he
makes sense because we played after you guys. That's why we started so late. I had the days wrong. That makes sense.
Yeah.
So 10:30 was too late for Incon. So imagine how we felt at 11 p.m.
Yeah. But like the start of the game was I can't keep my eyes open. I'm too tired. And it was like the vibes got thrown off. You're in game 5. That like obviously if people hadn't want to hear that. Yeah, if you haven't played a competitive game before, 4 hours straight of the like sweaty gaming is a lot. You get drained, but usually you hit like a last like a full hype last stride for that last game. That didn't happen. It got all killed as soon as he said that, and I think that just pushed it over the edge. I think that was the end of that, and like the respect that he had on the team, I think kind of just fell off after that. When the game ended, as soon as we got off, I won't say every player on the team, but pretty much every player on the team came up and said, I'm not playing with him ever again.
Mike, your camera went blam.
Yeah, your camera's messed up.
It exploded.
It looks normal on my end.
Wait, just turn it back, turn it off and turn it back on and see if it fixes it.
How about now?
Yeah.
There you go.
Good.
Yeah.
It looks totally normal on my end. My bad. Sorry. I don't know what happened. Yeah, before we get to like the off season, season 2 and stuff, I also want to get your perspective. So I remember we played you guys. There was COG, or yeah, it was COG Invitational that was in San Jose. And I
Yep.
remember after that, we were like right around where you guys were in the standings. And the week we came back from San Jose, we played you guys. It was our second set. I think the first set we went 1-1 against you guys. So we were like, oh, if we win the set, like we have a chance to like get first seed. I remember we played against you guys, and I think game 1 we won, but it was really close. Like it was just like a back and forth game. I don't remember how we won. I just know it was close. And then game 2, we played against you guys, and this is the infamous 667 like Odin game. And I remember playing against you guys, and I remember in the moment, I never once thought like, oh yeah, like Weekend is just like shitting it up this game. He's not doing anything. He's doing. I just remember us like, I think Cyclone played Merc solo, if I'm not
Yes.
mistaken. Yeah, he played
Yeah.
Merc solo, and Omega played like just some lane bully, you know, Bologna, whatever it was. And back then we just played through Omega's lane. So like, from my perspective, we're like, okay, we picked pressure. I played Athena that game, and I literally opted onto that lane like off cooldown. Like our whole strat was like, you guys were the playmakers, you and Cyclone. We're just gonna put you guys behind and invade everything. That's what we did, and we won the game. And I remember after that game, they used to do, like you said, even for the online games, they'd like call us, and they would do like interviews, all that type of stuff. And I remember going to check like the interview, and everybody was just spamming like 667, 667. I'm like, what are they talking about? Like, because I'm in game, I don't see the damage numbers. And I remember them spamming that. And I remember thinking, like, back then I'm like 19 years old. I'm thinking, like, damn, if that was me, like, that would suck. Like, I can't imagine like the feeling of everyone's spam that. And I think if it wasn't that night, it was the next night you streamed and you just didn't care at all. Like, you already had like an emote
Yep.
made, like all this other stuff. And I
Yep.
feel like it's such like a good trait you have. I feel like that you turn everything into like I feel like you'll own it. Like even back then, you were one of the players. Like you would talk trash, and you weren't one of those people where like if people talk trash back at you, you got like really upset, and you're like, oh, why would he say that? You know, like you always
Yeah.
you always invited like the friendly competition. I'm kind of curious, like how that mindset came to be, and like how useful you think that's been for you.
So first of all, we have to jump back because you brought up the San Jose land. Do you remember the San Jose land? Their servers were
It was
fucked.
awful.
It was on a
They
Awful.
MacBook, like a MacBook Mini or something. I remember.
Yeah,
So
they
bad.
brought 2 servers from Georgia to San Jose. They were, I think they were MacBooks or something
Yeah, it was
like that.
like the weirdest server setup ever. I remember that.
Yeah, so going into that, I think there was already, that might have been when Scrim started to get questionable for us, to be completely honest with you.
Mhm.
But we went to that LAN. Every game we played, I don't know why, it wasn't happening to anyone else. We would play and we were skipping around. So like that was the beginning, I think, of our slight downfall. I remember specifically like at that LAN being so annoyed with the fact that we couldn't really play and thinking, okay, now everyone's gonna think we aren't the best. And I think everyone had that mindset without on our team without talking about it. But then, like you said, coming off of that, we go into the match versus you guys, and we knew how good you were. We scrimmed, hundreds of games against each other. You beat us the first game in a close game. But when we got into that second game and you said you guys played pressure, we played the least pressure picks there were at the time.
I think you guys had Afro mid with all of that too, if I'm not mistaken. It was really
I
low
shit
pressure.
you not. I think it was like level 3 or 4. I remember saying, guys, our draft is fucking ass. There's no way we win this game. I can't do anything. Cyclone's like, just leave me alone over here. I was like, this game's over. I knew. So then you talked about like you felt like you didn't realize I was having a shit game. I didn't think I was playing good, but I didn't realize it was that bad. So when the game ended and my Twitter was filled with 667, you suck dick, all this stuff, it was definitely not something I expected. I was like, wait, what the fuck happened? I had to go back and watch the VOD to figure out exactly what the fuck happened. And then I was like, you know what? It happened. This isn't gonna make me like I'm gonna make money off of it if I can. I'm not gonna stop doing what I'm doing just because a bunch of people are mad that I did low damage. And yeah, next day I had an emote. I had, if you said to say 667, you had to be subbed in my stream. So people would sub just to say 667.
Dude, all-time
I
bag
love
collector.
that so much. I feel like the fact that you just owned it and didn't let it bother you. Like
Yeah.
I feel like if you're aspiring to do anything like social media or like playing pro in like a video game, like you have to, like, you don't have to have it, but if you do have that mindset, like and you just don't let things bother you like that, I feel like it's such a big help, and it makes it so much more enjoyable. And I feel like you being able to do that, especially because like Mike was saying earlier, like you got a lot of hate just from the fans even before that, just because of like maybe you not carrying like all these games or whatever. But like I feel like you played pretty well. Like you set your team up. Like your style was what made the team work really well, and people just didn't understand it at all. I feel like, but I just love the
Yeah,
way
it
you
was
handled it.
new. Everything was so new back then. But like you
Yeah.
said, if you have to at that point, if you let that bug you, you start to doubt yourself. And when you're playing against people, like I knew how good the other junglers were. Like in my mind, Andinster, those years was the best jungler I ever played against. Like, so I knew what I was playing against. So there was no world where I was gonna start doubting like my play style or anything like that. Like even like I said in the game, I didn't know it was that bad. We didn't expect to win, which is probably more of the reason why it didn't bug me too much. Like I think our draft was Afro mid, Odin jungle, Mercury solo, and then like Geb support.
I'm pretty sure it was like Geb Apollo or something like that.
Like,
Yeah, it was rough.
It's like, what the fuck are we gonna do, guys? Like,
Yeah.
I'm gonna ult them, and then they're just gonna stand there. Like, that was the end of the fight. It's such a different time in Smite game where people that started playing in the last few years, they just don't realize how much slower the game was back then too.
Do you remember
So,
why you were even playing Odin? Like why you picked it?
um, I know I'm pretty sure we last picked Mercury, if I remember. So that was kind of out of it. I think it was like Kiki's Afro's OP. So he's gonna pick Afro. And then
Dude,
like
it's because Hell was broken back then. That's why. We picked Hell,
Yeah,
and we
played
never
scrims.
played it against you guys in scrims. The only reason we even played it was because we played against Aurora's team. They were COG back then, and we probably should have lost our set against them. I think we just played like a best of 3 at the San Jose like COG Invitational.
Yeah,
But they had played like
I agree.
they played. You guys played Hell Ares against us the first game, and we got farmed.
Dude.
We lost. We got so farmed, and then I'm pretty sure we permabanned those picks the rest of the set.
Dude, the Ares, I am so sad I found this out. That was the only land I got to use it at. And maybe nowadays, like, you'd get in trouble for
Oh,
doing
it was the
it.
Aegis
But
thing.
you can
Oh my
Aegis
god.
to cancel
Oh my
Ares
god.
all. Oh my
I
god,
remember that,
I was
yeah.
You are
doing
such a
that.
cheese lord, man.
Dude,
You
I
are
was doing
such
that for like 3 weeks, like even in the SPL games. And I'm like, how did I never figure this out? Like until then.
so OP,
And
man.
it was so broken because I would get beads with Arizal because you could ult and then you Aegis right before your ult goes off and it doesn't take your ult cooldown. So then people would
that season
bead.
had other bugs, right? Like, wasn't that a season of just like crazy item bugs?
Yeah, for sure. There's. I'm trying to think what else was bugged.
Worlds, if I remember at Worlds, everyone built Wingblade.
Oh,
that was
year,
season
right?
1. That was season 1, I think.
yeah,
that was season 1?
That was
Oh,
season
okay.
one.
Okay.
Yeah, that was season 1.
But
Yeah,
dude,
we were
that,
just dealing with a lot of shit.
that 12-month
I think
period was
Shield of
nuts
Underworld
too.
was bugged as well that
Yes,
year.
dude.
Yeah.
Shield of the Underworld was broken, and then that was also the year like any god they released into the game was like
Chen,
all time.
Bologna.
It was like top like 10, top 15. Like
Yeah.
Xing Chen, Bologna, like release Kepri, release Soul would like one tap you with Poly on her too.
Yep.
Like it was so broken, so insane. That year was crazy.
I wanted to bring up before we go any farther into season 2. Do you remember? Okay, so it was the combat pause land. So that's the land I went to. So I came just to hang out with Kiki and Cyclone because I was friends with them, and I stayed at Kiki's house, and then Hyra's asked me if I'd guest cast a couple games. I was like, yeah, I would love to. It's great. So I did the first day, I remember, and it went really well, and I enjoyed it a lot. And that's when Bart kept like yelling my Twitter out, and I was like, Bart, stop! I was like, what the heck is going on? And so that day went really well. And then I remember I've always had issues with my stomach. And this is a story, I don't know if you remember this, but yes, I've always had issues with my stomach. And I was sharing a room with Allied, Kiki, Shewaz, and Shell. Allied, Kiki, Allied, Kiki, Shewaz, and Shell all shared like the double bedroom. Like they had the 2 beds, and then I was on the pull-out couch in the room. So like our room was like the room where everybody came and like talked, and like I had bad stomach issues, so I didn't want to hog the bathroom. So I asked if I could use I asked whoever was rooming with you at the time. I asked, and they asked you, and then you're like, "Yeah, I don't care." And like you were already sleeping. And I come to your bathroom, and it's whatever team Funball was on was under your guys' room because he always talks about that as well. but but I am 100% being serious. All I did was pee because I had to pee first when I got there. I didn't even go because I didn't go to the bathroom, and then my stomach was still bothering me really bad. I remember during this whole time as well, and I flushed the toilet, and the water like starts spouting out of the toilet, and I'm like freaking out because like I haven't like I'm dumb when it comes to like stuff like any handyman stuff like at all. Like I was like, now I know turn the water off, duh, and you're the only one in the room and you're sleeping, and I'm like weekend, I'm like tapping you, weekend, the bathroom. I don't know what's happening. And you get up and you're like, huh? What? And you're like, and I'm like, the water, it's coming out of the toilet. And you're like, what? So you put your shoes on, you walk in the bed, and you're like, what is going on? And you just like, why'd you not turn the water off? I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing. I'm just an idiot. But I always thought that was a great story.
It's funny because you have to realize, like he said, it was 2 beds. So like the hotel rooms we were usually in, you'd have 3 people in like a hotel room, but it was like you had a kitchen, and then one room was by itself, and then you go in another room where the 2 beds were. So I don't remember how, but you were like, "Can I use your bathroom?" I don't know if you messaged me. I'm like, "Yeah, I'll let you in." And I went right to sleep. I was like, "He's gonna be in and out. I'm going back to bed." And so you woke me up, but I stand out of the bed and the bathroom's there. Like all I have to do is stand up and I can see the water coming under the door into the fucking room. And I'm like what the fuck is going on? But the best part is
funny.
and like we weren't me and Aurora are cool, but we weren't like best friends. We didn't talk all the time. So like this was in my mind, I'm thinking I'm like the older person here, so let me handle this. But what the fuck is going on? And then that shit happens. So we have to get a new room. We're like, yo, our room is fucking flooded. Let me out. They're moving us, and when they're moving us, they're moving Funball's team because the toilet drained into their fucking bed. It was in their fucking pillows. And I thought you would take it a shit because like I had no idea. So I'm like, you guys actually got shit on by Aurora. Like he literally shit on you guys while you're sleeping. It was the fucking craziest. That was one of the crazier nights I had at like a regular LAN. It made no sense. No clue. I was wondering. I was thinking about this when you asked me. I was like, I wonder if he'll be okay with me telling the story. So I'm so glad you fucking brought that up because that shit. I was laughing about that for like weeks. Like that shit was to me for fucking weeks.
Dude, I never heard that story before. That is crazy, man.
But the worst part about the whole thing at the end is I was supposed to cast the next day, but I never my stomach was just so messed up that night that I just didn't cast the rest of the week because of it. It was so I think I casted like one more game, but it was like so unlucky. But I just always thought that was like that was one of the funniest stories though, for sure. I had to bring it up.
Yeah, it's just so like what are the odds of that shit happening? Yeah, like 1 in a fucking million of that leading to like you like I don't know how that happened, but they were mad. I don't know if you might not have realized that team was fucking furious that happened. Like you did it on purpose or some shit because you weren't playing. So they were fucking angry because it was late. I mean, it wasn't super late like compared to now, but when we were waking up at like 9 a.m. the next morning, like everyone had to get up and get whole new rooms. They had to go to a whole new parts of the hotel. That was a crazy night. That was funny.
That's too good. I wanted to. Is that all for season 2? Is there anything else you had, Max?
No, that's it. I just wanted to make sure I got that in there before we got past that.
So
I forgot that was season 2. To be honest, that's crazy.
Dude, season 2 was a wild year, man. I'm not going to tell the full story because I didn't ask them if they were okay about it. But I'm pretty sure that hotel could not have hated Smite players more because there's also a story of one of the cabinets literally being like torn in half. I can't tell the whole story because I don't want to throw anyone under the bus, but having a bunch of kids playing Smite, it is not good for a hotel business.
Well, I have to bring this up because I brought it up before. When we went to Sao Paulo because we won that one LAN, they sent us to go play against the Brazil teams. When we were there, I don't know how this happened. Like it was a long flight, like 13 hours, like it was a bunch of shit. For some reason, Incon's shoes smelled like dog shit, like filled up the room. I was rooming with him. Yeah, when we got there, and I don't know if he noticed it or if I was like, bro, your shoes smell like dog shit. But he Googled how to fix it, and it said put them in the freezer.
Oh
so he
no.
so he puts his shoes in the freezer, and I shit you not, within 20 minutes, the room service comes, and it isn't like here where they knock and like, do you want me to come in? They just come in, and she opens the fucking freezer and pulls out the shoe. And looks at the shoe and looks at him and puts it back and just fucking leaves. Didn't do any of the shit. So my hotel rooms were like, the stories from the hotels, it just got crazier and crazier that year. That was fucking, it was like, why is this shit happening to me over and over again?
That's awesome. I love that. Oh my god. Do you remember okay, do you remember Season 2 Worlds? You did the little Xbox thing, you know, is there anything to cover with that? You guys were just better than everyone, right?
Yeah, I mean that it was a joke, bro. We scrimmed, we we all bought Xboxes. We practiced for like a day on like ranked. This was one thing I have to bring up. So Gandhi's not there anymore, so I don't feel bad. Gandhi, old Halo Pro, worked at High Res, right? He'll make Xbox, Smite, all that shit. I messaged him. I was like, hey, we're gonna play Xbox. Can you give me rank 1 on all the gods so I can play ranked? He gives us fucking rank 10. And from my understanding, he got bitched out for giving me an allied rank 10 on all those gods. Like he got a big, like they were like, never ever do this to anybody's account ever again, like type shit. So that was a funny story going into it. But we scrimmed once. We got shit on by Odin one game on console, and then we got shit on by Guan. So we were like, we're banning those, and then we never lost a game again. Like all the scrims, hundreds of scrims into the land. Like it was kind of messed up. But one thing that people don't realize is when we won, me and Omega went up and we talked shit. Nobody fucking told us that this wasn't a high res like controlled thing, because like I've been talking shit forever. It was Microsoft. It was Xbox.
What?
Oh my god.
That's why we got in trouble.
Are you serious?
Yes, because Microsoft gave them the money. It was like
I don't remember that either, man. What?
Yeah, because when right afterwards, everything was fine, bro. Like after we talked shit, like at the event, no one was mad at us. And then like the next day, it was like fucking all hell broke loose. Like we did the worst thing in the world by doing that, and then everyone else just jumped on the like these guys are the worst people type shit. We were just fucking around. Like I talk shit all the time that whole year, right?
Dude,
like
that makes so much sense because I remember checking Twitter and everybody, I didn't watch the set. I just assumed you guys would win, right? And I remember checking Twitter and everybody was like so mad. And I'm like, what are they mad about? Like, did anyone come in and think they weren't going to win? Like, I'm very confused about all of this. And people are like, oh, they're talking trash. But I'm like, they'd always talk trash. Like Omega would do that if we were losing. You were the same way. Like, who cares? And
yeah, we were like
that's so funny.
We were the two that shit talked the most, like any chance we got. So you knew it was coming, and they gave us the mic. Like Kelly 100% knew what was gonna happen, and she gave it to us. So, and it wasn't even like I didn't think it was that bad.
Dude, no way Kelly even knew that it was from Microsoft. I've never heard that. I've literally never heard that.
Yeah, that's what we were messaged. It wasn't like
Dude,
it was more like,
Smite.
hey, you guys fucked up because I mean that might have been why there was no more funding ever again. I don't know.
Oh my god, you screwed us.
No one told us shit. Like if someone had said, "Hey, when you guys win, this is important. Say, be nice about it." It would have been a completely different story. But you don't give me a heads up,
dude. I can't wait for the clickbait where I get to title this like "We can ruin Smite" and like too easy.
It's crazy too because the more that I think about it, people got mad at us also. Like that actually kind of blew it up and made it worse. But people got mad at us for beating Xbox kids, but the Xbox kids were PC kids.
Yeah, we were all PC players, all of them.
Yeah, it was a lot of PC players that swapped. Yeah, which I mean, now that I think back, it didn't bother me, but at the time, that shit was really frustrating. It was not. It was very annoying.
You beat Paul and Shing.
Yeah. Paul. Yeah, now Paul. Yeah, Insane Paul was the one that we beat in the finals for it.
You started his villain arc. You created the monster.
Yeah, that man doesn't remember that shit at all.
He's just gaming. Okay, so season 3, we're going into that. Do you remember? Okay, I could be wrong about this. Your team on season 3, it was just that Xbox team. You kept the role swaps, right? So it was like Geeky Cyclone, By the way, what was going on with Kiki, man? Kiki played solo lane season 1, mid season 2, and then season 3. He's like, oh, I'll play support. Like, why not? Like, I'll just play.
Support the end.
It was egos, bro, dude. That our team had like they were definitely inflated a little bit. Like I still have an ego now, but we thought we could do whatever the fuck we wanted, dude. Even without winning at Worlds, we just thought we could play whatever role as a team and do whatever we wanted and win.
Wait, was that the season you played Khepri jungle at some point? Like you guys were.
No, that was 2.
Season 2.
Oh, was
Yeah,
it
it was
season
2.
2? Okay,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
I wanted to bring that up too. You guys were crushing everybody, and then just out of left field, the Khepri comes from the top row.
I scrimmed it. Nothing. All right, so okay. So everyone thinks like shit was an accident. We practiced. Anytime I played some weird shit, it was practice, and it wasn't like one game and it worked. It was like 5 or 6 or 7. Like I didn't fuck around with that shit. And it worked. And then if for some reason you take it into the thing and it doesn't work as well, and then you're doubting it all. But I mean,
You
we
got
scrimmed. I think we
sandbagged,
scrimmed
dude.
Mike's team, right?
Yeah, I was gonna say,
right?
I remember you guys playing it against us, and I remember every time you picked it, Zap would be like, dude, this shit is so bad. Like, this is trash. And we'd lose to it sometimes too. And you know why we lost to it? We lost to it because that was like release Opwash split. And you guys would play Khepri Opwash mid jungle, and we would keep trying to fight it into, and Kiki would just like line them up, knock them down.
Yep.
You know, it was just like bowling
Yep.
pins.
We'd one shot somebody over and over. And then not only that, you're letting me get a lead for Kiki, who usually would have a lead, and then I have an ult for Cyclone. Like,
yeah,
you're letting the best player in the game have 2 lives. And that was my mindset. It was like, this is free. And it worked. In scrims, it worked.
It
and at the
farmed
time,
us in scrims.
scrims reflected a lot of SPL. It wasn't like a big difference. If it worked in scrims, it was probably going to work in the SPL.
Oh, we wanted to talk about this actually. I don't know if you remembered, or like, it's so interesting. Or maybe I didn't talk to you about this, or maybe I was talking to someone. Maybe it was like Baskin the other day or something. Who knows? But it's interesting because back then, when we were all scrimming at like 7 p.m., we scrim a lot more now. But I feel like every like scrims, I don't remember people trolling scrims back then. Like, do you guys remember that? Like, was there any player who would like straight like troll scrims?
I don't think so.
No, I don't think people trolled. Like there were some things that we think were troll, and I don't remember if it was season 2 or 3 where it got to the point where people would reset a lot.
Yeah,
it might have been 3. So I'll talk about that later. But yeah, season 2, I think it was pretty sweaty because everyone wanted. It was a lot of money. Like Barracuda and them walked away with like 2.5 million. So it was like, okay, yeah, we want to take this serious. But bringing that up, we played. At that time, we played the next day and it was pre-recorded, and they still made us play. Well, not the next day, but we play in the morning on like Saturdays at like 11.
Yeah.
So that was one thing that I always surprised me that our team did so well, because we were up till 5 in the morning, like 3 or 4 of us. And then, we'd wake up and barely be able to speak and we'd still win, which no fans knew that back then. Like no one knew everything was pre-recorded. They didn't know when we were playing. And that's kind of a crazy aspect to think we scrimmed at 7. And I'm thinking back to like season 7 and 8 when I was playing, and we were scrimming all day. I couldn't imagine scrimming at 7 o'clock. No,
dude, Cyclone, it was so funny because when I played with him, he would just like, we'd scrim at night, we would talk about picks and bans, and then he would go to bed, and then he'd wake up and he was like half asleep for the first match, and then game 2 you were like, okay, it's Cyclone time, and then he would just farm everybody. He's like, okay, I'm awake now, like it's time to go.
5 a.m. SPL on the West Coast on 130 ping.
Yeah, exactly. He was in a shitty position, and that's kind of crazy to think about too. Like how I remember he'd wake up and we'd complain like, damn, it's like 8 or 9, and he'd be like, it's fucking 5 a.m. Like, shut the fuck up.
Okay, I don't want to spend a ton of time on each individual change because there's too many of them. I'll try to like briefly run it down, but it was like, so you guys won Xbox Worlds, you picked up Omega, and then it was Omega, solo, you jungle, allied move from ADC to mid, and then Kiki Cyclone duo. Okay. I remember within about a 2-month span, okay, I can't remember the exact order of everything, but within a 2-month span, Allied, I believe, had to stop playing because he had gotten his diagnosis, I believe. He stopped playing at that point.
I'm going to jump in real quick. That hadn't happened yet. At least not. Like, we didn't know about that. I knew something was going on because he kept wanting to step down. Like, he was like offering, like, yeah, I'll step down.
I figured you guys did know. I knew I didn't know. In hindsight, I know now, but
Yeah. Yeah. I knew something was going on because of how nonchalant he was about like, I'm just gonna like out of nowhere. But yeah, it wasn't like, hey, I'm sick, I'm not gonna play anymore. Just wanted to throw that out there.
Yeah, dude, it's so sad, man. He's the goat. So you go from that roster, and then you have stealth at some point, and then at some point, did they kick you? Did you leave? Do you remember what that was?
So I don't think Stealth was on the team yet. I'm pretty sure it was still. Wait, maybe it was Stealth. I got kicked, and it was to me it was crazy. So we were Envy at the time, which was like the biggest org in the world because their CS:GO
Yeah.
team was winning everything. So it was a really big deal. And I would talk to Hastro like a decent amount. So Paragon, the first Paragon dropped at the beginning of that year too. And it's another third person MOBA. So I was playing it. I was still playing Smite. I was still scrimming, all that stuff. But we weren't winning every scrim with that new roster right away. And Omega went to Envy and said I wasn't playing Smite. I was playing this new game only. So they were going to kick me.
Man.
Yeah. So then I got on a call, like they kicked me. I got on, and then Hastro was like, I want to talk to you. And he was like, yeah, they told me you weren't playing the game. I was like, you can see I'm playing the game. And he was so like into CS:GO at the time. He did not give a fuck about Smite at that point. Like it wasn't really important. So you could tell his reaction was like, okay, this is fucked, but like it is what it is. Like too bad. So that whole thing instantly, I fucking hated Omega. Like that ruined it for me. For like him. Like I knew what type of person he was. I wouldn't say I was super blindsided by it. You can always get the vibes when a change is coming.
Yeah.
But it was very annoying when it wasn't like, we're losing, we're gonna kick you, we're gonna try somebody else. So it felt really good when they were dog shit after kicking me.
Yeah, because they again, like we tried to do it with Cyclone as well, and Cyclone played that whole split on that team.
Mm-hmm.
It's like impossible. Like the mid laners, they had like Allied, Stealth, Snoopy played mid for them at one point. Then Kiki went back to mid. Support, they had like Kiki and Ionic. And jungle, they had you, Maskeli, Ionic. Like it was like a 20-person roster.
Yeah.
Apparently.
I never made it into a game though. That was the thing. We scrimmed for 3 weeks. Did you not? It was 3 weeks of scrims, and that was it.
That's crazy. Okay.
Yeah.
So I remember the reason I bring it up and the reason I'm curious is because I don't know how well you remember it, but at that time, you took a lot of the fall for kicking Incon on that initial team and picking up Omega. You took a lot of the fall for that because I don't know if you were the one to like announce it or say it publicly, but of course you were like, you were streaming all the time, as were some of your teammates. But I remember for whatever reason, there was like that crowd of people who just like, they hated you and they like latched on to like, oh, this is like all we can swap, blah, 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 all this and that. And I remember then that team kicked you and you ended up playing with Incon later that year, right? Incon, it was like this whole narrative of like Incon, like the offer giving, like takes back Weekend into his bird's nest, under his wing. And I remember that the reason I wanted to bring it up is you got to play with Cope, who, IRL friend, all that type of stuff. I want to know kind of like how that came to be and what that experience was like getting to play with Cope.
Right. So when I got kicked, I wasn't sure what was going to happen. I knew I wasn't going to get on another team just because like the way I played and everything, everyone was very unsure of how good I was. Whether like you said now, like, I was pretty good, or both of you said I was pretty good, but it was a weird time to not like nowadays people just swap. Like someone gets picked up, someone moves. It wasn't like that back then. I went and I started playing Xbox with Aggro and El Leon.
That's a banger.
And that's awesome.
Yeah, it was fun. I had a lot of fun playing. Like it wasn't for long. It was only for like a month or something. But in that time, it was before the Xbox League had started. So we were just scrimming. The SPL had started. And Incon's team had like Dare to Care and some other guys at that point. And they were a stream team. There's Maddie Pocket. And they were fully known. And, they weren't trying to win.
It was Flex, right? I think.
Yeah.
What they were Allegiance eventually. I don't know when.
Yeah, it was Flex into Allegiance.
Okay, yeah. I remember watching them, and they weren't terrible. And I was like, they're junglers at dog shit. Like I wasn't even trying at the time, like to get back to the SPL. It wasn't my thought process. But I messaged Incon. I was like, if you replace Dare to Care, we will win. That team will start winning. And I don't even know if he responded. I don't think he did. But within a week, he responded and was like, "Do you want to play? Like, we're going to kick him. We want to start winning. Do you want to play?" So while jumping back, when we kicked him, I was the one who had to sit down and talk with him, of course, because I was on a team with a 13-year-old Kiki who won't conflict, Allied who won't conflict, and Omega was the new person we were bringing in, so he wasn't a part of it. It was literally just me. So that was why I think I ate a bunch of it, but it was also because I'm gonna be like very real here. He got on stream and started crying on stream and said
I
it was my fault.
remember that. Oh my god. Okay.
Yeah, and fully
Dude,
blamed me.
we were a reality TV league back then. That is crazy.
Fully blamed me, which was fucking mind blowing at the time to me. By the way, like I think it was because he probably thought of me as like his one friend on the team because we roomed together and everything. But in my mind, we were never like friends. Like I never messaged him like, "Hey, you know, what's up?" or this. You know, like I never did any of that shit with him. It was always Allied or Kiki. So that was a whole weird arc of back and forth. And I kind of like people are thinking Incon forgave me, but in my mind, I thought Incon had like maybe realized he fucked up when I played with him again. Like obviously I wanted to play in the SPL at that point when I messaged him. I'm like, I want to come play. But I think in my mind, everything was just over. Like it almost like it never happened.
Mm-hmm.
So that arc was weird. But then you said I got to play with Cope, I've known him since he was 4 years old.
Did you vouch to get Cope on that team or was he already on the team? I don't remember.
No, he was not on the team. So the team was me, Lassus, Incon.
Was it Ven in ADC?
You got Ven later
No,
on,
Ven
right?
wasn't on the team yet. It was Matty Pocket in solo, and I don't know who the ADC was. I don't know if it was like
because Oceans I was playing with Oceans at the time.
Yeah,
are you sure it wasn't Ven? Was it not?
It was Ven eventually, but there was somebody before Ven.
There was
maybe it was.
Wait, was it? Oh my god, do you remember his name? Or he was
Oh,
dude,
yeah,
it was
I know who you're talking about. Like,
was it the guy who went off in scrims all the time, season 2? Do you know who I'm talking about?
Oh yeah, I don't know if it was him, but there was like 3 hunters. Dude, if I look, I've like followed all the players like through SPL like on Twitter. Like if I look through my Twitter following, I could probably name him. There was like 3 of them. It was that guy. He was super good. Oh man, he had like 3 different names though. The one guy you're thinking of, Mike, and then there was 2 other guys as well.
I'll come back to it.
Man.
I'm gonna look it up. But
Bronx Bombers? Was it Bronx Bombers?
Maybe. It might have been. I think that sounds so familiar. That's
maybe
what it might have
was
been.
Bronx.
It was it was like some random hunter like that. It was either what's the guy you're thinking of though, Mike? That's gonna drive me nuts. I forget his name. I'm like thinking so hard about this.
I'm working on it. It'll drive me insane as well.
So when I joined the team, that's what it was. Whatever the ADC was.
Was it Mr. Makey? Was it? He's listed on this roster.
Subbed, I think.
No,
I thought he was a sub. Yeah.
All of these names, bro. It has Met on there, but Met was later. I was later. Ven, you're right, was later. Are you sure? It just has Oceans and Ven, dude.
Wait,
maybe it was Oceans.
Yeah. Who?
Was it just?
It wasn't. Because I was with Oceans.
Maybe it was Ven. It might have been Ven. You might be right. It might have been Ven from the beginning.
Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, because that would make more sense. Because when we started scrimming that team, like instantly we started winning. My first game back, we shit on Envy, I think was with Omega, which was like my. Oh, it was you?
No, well, I was on Envy at that point. I remember you guys owning us. I don't know if it was your first set or not.
That was like crazy too, because I played Omega in a rank game the day before we played them, and we went like he shit talked me at the beginning. I don't know why, and I went off on him, shit on him in the game, and I was like, I'm gonna shit on you tomorrow. And I just remember absolutely railing you guys. I don't know what the fuck happened. I just know it was my first game with the team, and we shit on you guys, so it was super hype. And then I think we did well. Like they went from last place to like we were, trading wins with teams we probably shouldn't have or whatever. And then Matty Pocket in scrims would start like we'd play one scrim and he'd be like, I want to go stream. And I remember the first time it happened, I thought it was a joke.
Surely not.
No, and then we played one more game. We F6 at 20 minutes, and he left. He didn't even say anything. He just left. And I remember snapping and being like, I'm not gonna keep playing if that's the thing. Like I'm done. Solo lane was very bad back then. There were not a lot of great players. So Cope had just gotten into it. I think he was still jungling, but he wanted to play in the SPL. And somehow I managed to convince them to let him come play. And even when he was playing, he wasn't super confident. He didn't think he was the best solo laner at all. We had one play where we won a game off of a Phoenix defense because he forgot to blink. So his blink was still up on Ymir solo after the fight, and he just blinked and stunned 3 people, and we won the game. So like it was a whole different thing. But I ended up having to kick him for you guys. That's like leading into that.
Yeah,
Yeah, I don't remember how why it happened outside of you could tell we needed to make a change to make LAN or what? Was it a play-in LAN?
I
was for
remember.
Worlds.
So yeah, so it was we played group stages back then. So this was a crazy format that like if you
Oh,
watch
yeah.
You
season
were in our
3, yeah.
group.
Yeah, so it was we all played a regular season. We played a double round robin regular season. And then we got seeded into groups. And it was 4 teams from each region were a group. So there's a total of 4 groups. There's 8 SPL teams each region. And then you had 4 groups of 4. In your guys' group was you and Eager and I forget the
LG.
other team. Oh yeah, you, Eager, LG, and you guys finished 3rd in that group. LG and Eager were 1 and 2, not in that order. Eager was first, I think, and then it was LG. And you guys finished 3rd, but there were a lot of games where you guys did really well.
You guys beat us
Uh,
as well, I think. More than LG beat us in that
yeah,
group stage. Because Cope played Erlang. Like, that's when Erlang Shen came out, and everybody was like, dude, this god is just straight trash.
so
And I was playing
bad.
him support. Like, that was like another thing with Circuit that you were talking about earlier. Like, people just, for some reason back then, like, Osiris is like another character that was like the most broken thing ever. Like, season 1 regionals, no one thought he was good.
Imagine
Then
being like
Circuit
stubborn and
came
stuck in
out.
your ways, and your ways are like a year
Oh.
old. Like we were all noobs, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, but Cope played Erlang and he just was owning people. I remember in solo, and you guys had like a bunch of games where like you guys just completely dominated like the solo side of the map, and you guys got really far ahead whenever you picked Erlang. I remember that tournament.
Yeah, I remember that too because he started to come into like you realize he was actually good enough to make it then because the regular season part of that it wasn't that good. And I have to also say Ven is now like one of the best mids in the game. He was not one of the best ADCs when we were
No,
playing.
yeah,
It was not it.
the Ven ADC arc is one to forget for
Ven
sure.
was a soul laner, I think, to start.
Yeah, he was.
first, right?
He was crazy toaster
Crazy
solo
toaster.
lane, and then he went to when he joined the SPL, he went under Venenu and role swapped. I don't know. By the way, how did like Lass and Incon and Maddie? They're like, oh yeah, this guy like crazy toaster. He plays in our morning rank queues. Let's put him ADC. Like that's literally what happened when they
Yeah,
lost
that is.
Oceans.
They honestly they were probably like who will come play that won't give a shit. Like
Yeah, true.
for not wanting really caring too much because that team did not care about winning when I first joined.
Yeah, and then you did join, and then you guys did try to win. You were close. We were in the other group. We were against like Soar, Enemy, and I forget who the other team was.
Noble or something maybe.
Yeah, I think we got
Noble's in
farmed.
our group? I don't even know.
We also finished 3rd. So your team and my team both finished 3rd in the group. You guys were closer 3rd than we were. And I remember we all went to dinner at the end of that LAN, and I think Kabam was our coach, and I remember I was the last one to dinner. Kabam and I were, and I think I had come in, and like before I sat down, I think I like, went to the restroom really quick, whatever. And when I came back out, they're all like, "Oh, we got to tell you something." And I'm like, "Oh, okay, what's up?" And they're like, "Okay, so Cyclone and Oceans are getting an offer to join Allegiance." And I remember my first reaction was like, "You guys should do it," because we were all pretty like low. Things were just not working. Like as a team, we weren't clicking. And then Cyclone was like, yeah, the thing about that is like, I'm not going to play with Incon again. And I remember I kind of got dragged along to that team because it was you and Stealth and Incon just wanted the side laners. You guys just wanted the side laners. And I think at that point, you guys were like so close to winning that you kind of just went with it. You were just like, I just want Cyclone back. If he has a condition, like, screw it.
Yeah, it was so crazy because it stemmed from I got in a call with Stealth in Incon, and they were hinting at wanting to make roster changes, but Pope is my best friend. So I think in their mind, there's like no fucking way he's gonna kick
so they didn't want to like step on your toes or something.
Yes.
Yeah.
So no one said anything, but it was like a minute period where they were like hinting at it. I'm like, okay, like at the end of the minute, I'm like, so you guys want to kick Cope and Ven, right? And they're like, yeah. And Incon's like, can you talk to Cyclone?
Yeah, that's right.
yeah. And I don't think people understand this, especially going through the Incon shit. Like for me, it was winning. It wasn't who I was playing with. I wasn't trying to make best friends. I wanted to be the best team, win, $1 million or whatever, and be the best player. So instantly I knew they were right. Like I'm not stupid. Cope even knew, like he was new to it all. So I messaged Cope and I was like, look, they want to, like, this is right after that conversation. I texted them. I was like, they want to replace you. They're looking at Cyclone and this, and it's probably going to happen, just so he had a heads up. And I'm sure he was sad about it, but he was fine with it. So I messaged Cyclone. I'm like, hey, like, do you want to do this? And I think at first he was like, he interested, but he didn't say yes. And then like, he probably had the conversation with you guys at dinner or something. And then an hour or so later, it was like, I won't play with Incon. bring Mike, or Mike's gotta come, or something like that. And I went back to stealth and I told him, said, hey, this is the scenario. What the fuck do you want to do? And both of us said, if we kick Incon again, it's going to be a shit show. Let's leave. Let's go to play with you guys on Envy. Let's replace your two or whatever, do the reverse. So I went to Team Allegiance because I was good friends with the owner, that guy Connor, the dude Connor. And I was like, hey, will you let me and stealth leave? And he said no. And I was like, well, this is the situation, and Incon, me, and Stealth all don't think we can win with our current roster. It won't happen. So there's no like why keep playing with the roster? There's no way we make it into this bracket. And he goes, okay.
To add context to this really quick for everybody. We were our group on Envy, we were group D, so we were group 4 out of 4. In 1.5 weeks, we were going to fly back to Georgia, and this was like regionals to qualify for Worlds. So this isn't like an off-season thing where you have like 2 months to hash stuff out. This is like you got like 3 days, like do it now sort of thing. Because to get those last couple spots to go to regionals, we had to play an online like Gauntlet tournament, if I'm not mistaken. It was something like that. Like all the teams that didn't make it. So that was at the end of that weekend. So we had like 3 days to work with.
Yeah, and there was no scrimming. So that was also a factor. Was like, who do we know who we can play with right away? So when we were talking to the owner, Connor, he's like, no, I won't let you go. And I'm like, well, look, none of us think we can win. I've already told Cope, like, this is the situation. I think I'd also told Ven, like, here, this is what's happening. Because I wasn't trying to like fuck people over back then. It wasn't worth time. It was just a crazy scenario. And he goes, okay, we'll kick Incon. This is the owner of the org who signed like everything. He's like, okay, we'll kick Incon. Let me handle it. I said, okay. Good. Like my hands are clean. I'm not going to get shit for this. Like I'm fucking golden. So I leave. I tell you guys, like, you're good. We're playing together. This is the situation. And the next fucking thing I know, I get a message from Incon that's like, can we talk or something? And I'm thinking, okay, like I should probably go explain, what happened. And I'm explaining what happens. And he hits me with fool me once, literally, and I quote, it's like, fool me once, shame on me, fool me twice, whatever. Third time, you're an asshole or something. And I was in shock. Like at that moment, I was like, this is my fault again? Like, how the fuck is this my fault? I didn't want to make the roster changes in the first place. So that was a fucking crazy scenario. But then it happens again. He tried to make a video crying, all that stuff. I get all the backlash. But I knew our team was fucking good. I knew the 5 of us were going to be like a solid roster going into that. And I wanted to make Worlds. I didn't make Worlds the year before. I just wanted to fucking go play at Worlds, whether I won or not. I was like, that was the other thing. We weren't making a roster change for like the future. It was for like tomorrow. It was like, can we make Worlds tomorrow? And I mean, we made the right change, right?
It was so funny because, so like I said, it was the end of the LAN. We had dinner. So I remember I went back to the hotel that night and I had a really early flight. I had like I had to like be at the airport at like 4 a.m. or something. So I remember telling Cyclone, I was like, yo, just like DM me whenever you figure out what happens. I think for whatever, like, because we had talked and he was like, oh yeah, like I'm going to try to see if like they'll kick Incon, whatever. And I told him like very clearly, I was like, no matter what, I think you and Ocean should do it. If you can, I think you'll have a better chance to like make Worlds out of this. And we were all on the same page. So I land in Baltimore at like 11, 12 a.m., something like that. And this wasn't a thing where it was like the orgs announced it or like Hi-Rez announced it. Within like the time between me waking up and going to the airport to me landing home, my Twitter's just blowing up and people are going crazy. And there's like all this drama and it's like, Weak3n did it again. So I'm like, okay, like, I guess I'm on the team then. I guess that's what happened. I guess I'm on the team because Cyclone's either in the air going back to California or he's asleep, whatever the deal is. So it was so troll. And I remember that Gauntlet was one of the most fun tournaments I played for all the reasons we were saying before about just like, so again, for people who like haven't gotten to see it, that group stage, they changed the studio a little bit. And like, it wasn't like figurative bleachers. It was like literal bleachers. Like this is like, this is like you're at a high school basketball game, like spectating your peers, like play Smite. Like that's literally what it was like. So I remember we went into that tournament and we just had nothing to lose. Like that was like the most free I've ever played Smite. And I remember you and I would do a bunch of cheesy stuff. We would like flex pick like Athena Erlang and put it wherever. And then we would do the classic like Cyclone God Roulette, whatever he wants, like 10th pick. And you and I just played double setup characters for stealth. And I just remember like anytime stealth got a kill, I just remember yelling at the top of my lungs, like going crazy, like trying to hype stealth up. And I remember we beat Orbit, and that was when Orbit was like the #1 CDU team. This was like, you know, Trix and Cuvo and Thumball and like all those boys. And I remember that's when I yelled like EU sucks, let's go. And like all of that stuff is like well documented. We made words.
That game was crazy.
Are you in the background yelling thank you, thank you? Isn't that the same thing? After
Yeah,
Mike yells EU sucks, it's just you after saying thank you. Like
because we got a weekly for 5 angle. We got a curt for 5.
People see that clip of like EU sucks, but they don't realize we were getting fucking shit on that game. We were down like 12k gold. I remember the fight when it happened. I was split pushing on Bastet, and all of a sudden I hear Mike just start fucking going nuts, and they're all dead. Like,
dude, we
2
played
seconds later.
We played a fire giant fight, I think, and I got like, I think I was Erlang that game, and you were Bastet. And I remember I got like a 4-man like Erlang combo, like it
was under tier 2. They had fire.
Yeah. It was under tier 2, and I remember I got like a huge like setup for stealth, and we like killed everybody, and we're like chasing them down. And you finally like, we wiped their fire. We're running from like our tier 2 all the way to you and Duo Lane, who's like split pushing Duo T2. And I remember we finally get there and everybody respawned again. And I remember I was low and I didn't have all, so somebody had to like int to start the fight. And you like go in, and I think you killed like Fumball or Lob, whoever it was. You killed one of the backliners. And then we ended up like, we just got like 1 kill here, and then they respawned. We killed him again. And then I remember going to mid, and I was dead now, and it was me and you were dead, and it was the other 3. And Cyclone's like, I'm just gonna pluck, and he just like plucks in, like almost dies, doesn't die. Stealth 1-taps everybody, and I just like, let's fucking go. You sucks. Like I stand up, like I threw my headset like on the table, like I was so pumped, and then like you can't tell in the clip, the audio clip, and the cam is on me, so you can't tell either. But you stood up and you started waving to the EU people in the audience. And you were like, "Thank you, thank you." It was so funny, and like the best part about that tournament, I wanted to ask if you remembered this. Do you remember what happened the next day? Because we had already qualified for Worlds.
I do. I talk about this behind the scenes a little bit, but I'm going to talk about it here because I don't give a fuck. That you're talking about where I think it was was it LG? It was LG,
yes.
right?
Yes, we were already 4-0. We confirmed Worlds.
We were good. We were going to LAN. And like Mike said, this LAN, we were just fucking having fun. Mike's like, we would swap role, like we would pick gods, and we would laugh about it. Like, haha, let's fucking just pick these 2 and just see where it goes. Who the fuck cares? Like, it was just a pure fun. We wanted to win, but it was fun for us. We get to the next day, and LG had beat, I think we had scrimmed once, right? Like, I think we scrimmed them once or twice. They shit on us in scrims, and they were a good team. So they came into the match thinking they were going to roll us, and we fucked them up.
I was really good friends with, I still am good friends with Mask. And I remember talking with Mask before the game, and I could tell he was in a good, like, this can tell you, like, how nuts you are. Like, you don't have to be in the NBA to be, like, a nuts competitor or whatever. Because, like, if you're competitive or you do anything competitively, like, people are wired a little different. Like, they just want to win. And I remember I was and still am such good friends with Mask. And we were the first set that day at 11 a.m. And I saw Mask at the studio, and he was so happy. He was like, I'm going to make Worlds today. I'm pumped. Like, free game against you guys. He literally said the words, "You have nothing to play for." And I remember coming back, and I'm like, yo, let's invade their speed. Like, level 1, let's just invade. I picked Sylvanas. I'm like, let's invade their speed. This is going to be awesome. And we just rolled them, and we beat them in like 20 minutes because I was like, I'm not giving a free game to somebody. Like, that's not happening.
I think at like 6 minutes in the game, we were up like some crazy amount of gold, and you could tell they were just fucking in shock. Like, they hadn't processed what was happening to them. Because I think we said, let's invade, and if it goes bad, like you said, a game doesn't matter. But we wanted to like kind of just like, I remember you told me they think they're gonna win. They think they win this for free. It kind of pissed me off too. I was like, all right, we're rolling them.
And it pissed Stealth off too, because they kicked him at the start of the year. They kicked Stealth. So I was like, okay, like, I can't let Mask be thinking he won. Then I told you that, you got mad, and then Stealth is like, no, screw these guys, I'm beating them. Like, I gotta beat Jeff and Barra. And you know the meme where it's like the surprise face where they're like, what? Like that was literally Barra and Jeff. They're like, huh? They want to win?
Mm-hmm. Yep. I remember, and it's crazy because there was more after that where like there was some drama that came up because it was such a shock that they lost that Barra he just left.
Yeah,
He
I
went and sat in
remember
his
that.
car because they had to.
He
So
thought he
the
was
next
out.
game,
Yeah.
next game somebody had to win.
It was-
It was Funball.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was Paradigm. Was it versus Flashpoint, right? Like the
Yep.
Irwin
Yeah, that's
Benji
right.
team. And
Yep.
dude, like they were hungover.
They were still drunk.
They were like,
Yeah.
they were just like, we're having fun. Like even
Uh-huh.
more so than you guys. Like they were just done.
Oh,
yeah, they
yeah.
were drunk and they won.
Yeah, they won, and it was because nobody thought they were going to win either. It was like LG thought they would beat us. Nobody thought like I'm pretty. If I don't want to like throw anyone on the bus, but I remember someone taking a shot of something going into it. Like they were actually actively drinking.
Oh, I'll
And I'm
throw him under
like-
the bus because he wouldn't care at all. No, Funball was still taking shots.
Okay.
That guy, if you went to a tournament with Funball, when Funball thought when it was time to party, you know that guy's partying. Like it's time to go.
Yeah, and then they won, so it kind of I think it saved that roster a lot. Like it changed the whole timeline because some shit was about to happen.
They ended up making semis too. They almost
Yeah.
made finals. They went to 5.
Yeah.
Like
They
it
went
was so
from
crazy.
basically not being a roster, from losing to us, to they made it in and somehow end up being, they stayed. That became a thing. Like they became a good team for a long time. That was a wild timeline.
Yeah.
But I forgot it was. I remember we beat them, but I didn't remember we invaded until you brought it up.
Oh, yeah,
I
no,
completely fucking forgot about it.
We picked Erlang and they thought it was for the two of us. And I don't know if it was my idea or it was Cyclone's, but we're both just sick, like twisted people. And I remember Cyclone ended up playing the Erlang and I played Sylve, and the three of us, we just ran it down and we're just like, oh yeah, let's just get in there. Let's have fun, And they were so pissed. That was a good time.
Speaking of alternating the timeline, I remember our team did really well at that event, and we're probably gonna end up playing against ALG because you guys looked so insanely good in just that entire qualifier thing. You guys went 5-0. I felt like you guys played like the invade meta the best out of all the teams there besides us. Like, and you guys were the ones who mainly did it. Like, there wasn't a lot of teams that did it. So I feel like you guys, Mike was talking about it. I think were we talking about with Prime, where you're saying we were kind of ahead of the curve a little bit?
For
I feel
sure.
like you guys were right there with us because you guys were also invading.
Well, because
pretty early
Cyclone and I
on.
were on the other end of it, right? We got owned by you guys for weeks and weeks and weeks. And then when we failed at that group stage, and then we went to go play with Weekend, we had kind of explained it. We're like, this is how long we scrimmed against this. Here's what they do. Here's why they're doing it. And it wasn't that Skilly didn't want to do it. It was more that just like, it was like that honeymoon phase where as soon as we explained it to Weekend, he was just like, yeah, let's get in there. Like, let's do it. Like, I'll run it down. I'll like pick a bruiser. I'll pick a tank and we'll just invade them. And it like clicked instantly.
But where I'm getting to, the alternating the timeline, you guys were, if you guys won out, like how you guys should have won, we would have played you guys in the semifinals. So we're thinking we're going to play against Allegiance in the semifinals because they're just looking insane right now. And then a little Raw came to town in Georgia. And a little Oceans didn't pause the game and restart his computer. Came to town as well.
Dude, that was the most cursed set at Worlds I've ever played, and I've played a few cursed sets.
Hold on.
Worlds,
I have all right. So we played the LATAM team, right?
Yeah.
Okay. You guys scrimmed the LATAM team at Worlds, right?
It was like, okay, so me and Bess played with Mask and Barra, and then some random fifth person. We scrimmed them with like a pickup team for fun. Just at like, there was like computers like at the venue, and we just played them for like 3 hours for fun, basically.
Yeah, but the problem was you taught them the meta that they didn't fucking know, and we didn't know that they knew the meta until the game started. The game started, and we were like, what the fuck? Like, they knew everything that we were gonna do.
Well, it was funny because back then, with that many different leagues, we didn't really have access to their VODs as much as like they had ours, right? Because they like ours were just on like the official like Smite VOD or Smite Pro, like YouTube, whatever it was. And I couldn't find any of their VODs on YouTube. I remember me and Cardiac and Cyclone, the three of us, like we went like fishing for them, and we couldn't find their VODs. So we're like, okay, we'll just play like a really standard like invade meta. Like if we take like Erlang or something, we don't really have to worry about combos with like Ra or something. Like little did we know, Kha'Zix was cracked. Like that guy was sick on Ra. He was so good.
I want
And
to
he was
say
playing a Raw with a banned skin. First of all, that had no sound.
Dude.
Yeah,
Dude, it banned skin on Ra that was literally silent and looked like he was Aegisine whenever he 2'd. Like that skin was beyond broken. And then Oceans was like, it wasn't his frame rate. I forget what it was. His frame rate was awful,
his
or
frames,
yeah, it was awful. And he just thought it was like, oh, it's like normal. Like I'm not going to tell an admin. I'm not going to pause the game. I'll
That's
just deal with
the
20.
craziest thing I've ever heard, by the way. Whenever something happens to me in a game, I instantly pause and I'm like, I can't play. Like
dude, and that he's an ADC too, man. How do you play that way as an ADC?
He didn't even tell us though. Like he didn't say anything about it. So because like if he had told me or Mike, we'd have been like fucking hand up, pause this.
I didn't learn it. Dude, Kabam, who wasn't even our coach on that team, Cardiac was our coach on that team. We got Kabam going into season 4, and Kabam told me the story from Oceans like a month later. I was like, hold on a second. Like, what the hell? It was so cursed.
Like you said, it was cursed. It was like everything that could have gone wrong went wrong. And I think it was such a shock that they were playing the way they were that like everyone just kind of fell apart. Like it was.
Do you
like,
remember who their soul laner was?
No, I don't.
Their soul laner was Shinto.
Oh, it was.
And their support was Rongi.
Wait, who was Ronnie the support?
Yeah,
I don't remember that.
Yeah, because he was Sabas Picasa.
Oh my god, yeah, was
he name changed, yeah.
The thing was, going into it, I told you, we talked about how I went to Sao Paulo to play them. The last time I played against these motherfuckers, we had no mics, no headsets, no comms. We played Ul, Jungle, and Loki ADC, and we shit on them. So that was my last experience with these guys. I'm thinking this is the freest match of my fucking life. Like like this can't be lost, even if I played with my toes. We were really fucking wrong.
They owned us, man. They farmed us. It was so.
I do think that the combo of being shocked as well as us knowing they were playing an OP like that banned skin, because we didn't realize it until like halfway through.
I'm not gonna lie, the skin did tilt me a little bit just because it was like I forget what god I was playing, but there'd be so many fights that in my head, like I'd get a good engage. I'm like, oh, this is good. And then I just hear like Stealth or Oceans, like someone just gets one tap through a wand. I'm just like, there's literally like, I don't know what to do. Like I can't do anything about this.
This is the other thing too. That's the game where everyone's like, Weekend can't play Thor. He can't land Thor ults. You just mentioned it. We'd called a fight and someone in the back would say something like, don't go in, or, you know, something went wrong. So you wouldn't go in. So it'd be like, well, I can't fucking go in now. And I don't think people processed that there's like if everyone isn't on the same page, somebody's gonna look like shit. Like someone's gonna die or something's gonna go wrong.
Or it's also kind of like people. This is something like I don't think a lot of people think about it, but you can like feel it when I'm talking about it. If you're going to start a team fight and you're flanking and you're looking for like flanking and you're looking for like a stun or a taunt or whatever it may be, like it's really easy to get that because you're flanking. They don't know you're there. If you're like a Fafnir and you're starting a fight and all 5 people are standing at you, you're so much easier to juke. Like they can literally just see where you're looking and like moving. Like it's so much easier. So when you're Thor and they're all just staring in the air and they're just like, what are you gonna do? It was really funny.
Yeah, that was I still like, I've thought back about that. I don't think I ever went back and watched it, but it was just such the series of events that happened in that game. I don't know if that could ever happen again. Like it was the craziest shit. And Aurora, I was mad at you guys because like you said, you guys were kind of like leading that meta. And I'm like, these motherfuckers taught them literally the only fucking team that needed to not know this shit. They taught them what they needed to know and we're losing because of it. I was so fucking mad because the other side of the bracket was the lower seeded team than us. And they played the China team who fucking,
it was LG. LG got to play China.
Yeah.
And then LG won and we lost. So we had to play Energy in quarters.
Yeah.
Do you remember our Energy set?
Oh my god, the Energy set, dude.
Because if you guys won, you would have played Australia, I think, in the quarters instead.
That Energy set.
Dude, I don't think a lot of people remember that set. We were pretty close, like a couple of those games. I'm sure they didn't feel that way, but I felt that way.
No, it did. I know it felt. Oh, go ahead.
I want to say one more thing about that set. Like, I've been to so many worlds. Like, I'm not saying this in like a bad way possible. Like, just because of all the drama and stuff that happened with like
Oh
Incon and
yeah.
everything throughout the year,
Uh,
the state like it was louder than some of the finals, I feel like,
Dude,
yeah,
during
it
that
I was
was.
lineup
gonna
set.
say
It was like, I don't know if you guys noticed it while you're in game, but
Oh,
I was
oh, we
sitting in
knew.
the crowd, dude,
dude.
everybody, like, because people, like, just would, like, even now, like, people chill, like, they don't watch, like, the quarterfinal, like, they'll go and they'll talk to their friends during the games, and, like,
Yeah.
everybody will watch the finals, but not, like, all the other games, like, people are just gonna be coming in and out. But everybody was in there for that
Yeah.
Dude,
set, and
I
everybody was losing their minds.
It
I
was
I
packed.
literally won the next year, and I'm pretty sure when I won, the crowd was not as loud as they
Dude.
were for like that game.
Yeah, the whole thing was packed. I remember looking up and seeing like people were standing up. And it wasn't like hype for the game. They were hype over the littlest things. Like if an
Yeah.
ability was missed by us, everyone fucking went nuts. So like playing into that was horrible. It was a terrible fucking experience. And we knew it was gonna happen. I told them. I think I remember telling you guys like this is gonna be everyone's gonna fucking hate you guys. Just remember that it's me. Like they're worried about me. Just play your fucking game. And it was bad. It was worse than I thought it was
Yeah,
fucking gonna be.
dude. The
It was crazy. Sorry, Mike. I want to just say
No,
this
go
one
ahead.
last thing. Like game started out. I don't remember how it started. Did you guys get the first kill happened and like people were
we
like
were
getting
we were
hype?
ahead the first couple kills. I'm pretty sure we got ahead.
Yeah, so like people were like, whatever, they're probably just gonna win. And then as soon, I think he got like a double kill somewhere, and then people just lost their mind. And then everybody's
They
like, "What
raw
is
sniped
going
us on
on?"
a buff.
And you just see
Dude,
everybody start walking into like the state, like to like the Cobb Energy Center. Like everybody's walking in, and everybody's like, "Hey, what's going on here?" And everybody's like, "Oh my God, Weekend's losing to Latam." Like after all the
Yeah.
drama, and
Yep.
people were just
Yep.
losing their mind. Like you were saying, every skill you guys missed, like whoever it was on your team, people would just start like going crazy. It was insane.
Mhm.
I've
Dude,
never seen that before in Smite, like ever, as just a spectator, like in the crowd at Worlds.
Shinto played Thana solo, which Harry Variety ended up playing in the finals, and that pick was going off that Worlds. And I remember the fight that turned it is we invaded their speed buff. We were ahead. And I'm pretty sure Nozzix got like a 2-man raw snipe and they insta got Thana executed. I think it was the two of us actually
Yeah.
got
Mhm.
insta Thana executed. And then the crowd went crazy. And then it was everything you said from there on out. It was like, oh shit. Like
Yeah,
this is
we could feel it, dude. You could 100% feel it. No matter, and it wasn't like we were done. We were trying to like calm ourselves down, like figure everything out. But
we
it
can't
just,
even hear each other though, like over the crowd. Like it was
fucking
crazy.
nuts.
It-
Yeah, that being my one Worlds experience is pretty fucking bad.
Well, it's so funny because for me, like we went from that and then we went into energy. And for me, like mentally, I was like completely reset. I'm like, whatever, it doesn't matter. Like I've always just gone into tournaments and just thought like, you got to be able to beat the best team if you want to win anyway. So like to me, like losing, like wherever you lose, it doesn't make a huge difference to me. Like I just think you got to
If
be
you're
ready to
not
play
up,
anyone.
it doesn't matter.
Yeah, exactly. Like you're just trying no matter what. And we had played energy, and I remember like we got a pretty good start to one of those games, and I think we like threw out like I was playing Sylvanas, and I remember like again, this is only my memory, not to say like, oh yeah, I was going off. I don't know what these guys were doing. I remember like hitting a couple like freehand pulls, and like we would get kills off of them, and I like started to feel the momentum, and I was like, okay, like we can do this. Like it's a Smite after all. Like we can play Smite. And we ended up like I think we lost like a team fight. It was like a classic like ML flank, like they get fire, win the game, whatever. And then I remember the second game. Do you remember what happened game 2 in the late game?
All right. I don't remember which game it was, but for me, like you said, you were feeling your plays. I remember stealing a gold with a rank 1 Nemesis dash.
I remember that.
And it was that happened, and I think we all kind of just popped off.
Yeah.
The end of, I guess it was probably that game, was we killed 3 of them, I think, and they had a Chrono split pushing, and they had like a mage alive, and we were all healthy and good. And I think there was I mean, I don't know. I'm not gonna talk for you guys, but I think there's a communication problem because of how fucking loud it was getting. Because we were getting a lot of hype because Energy wasn't supposed to lose. They were, they were supposed to shit on us. And Cyclones, I remember Cyclone being like, "I can TP, someone take a ward with you. I'm gonna back." And I don't think you heard it, right? And you backed.
I didn't.
And you had our ward.
Yeah, I didn't hear him, and I was the ward, and I backed. And it's so funny because like looking at it now, my like pro player brain now is like, I don't care if ML gets that Phoenix. Like, let's just go 5-man in the game. Like, I don't care.
Yeah.
And at the time, Cyclone was like, yeah, I'll just like, I'll back and then TP, whatever. And I didn't hear him. And I was just bad. Like, we were all just bad back then too, you know, like that's just part of it. And I was just bad. And I remember like after the game, Cyclone was like, yeah, I think like we could have ended the game. And I remember looking back at it, you know, that feeling where like your gut like literally like sinks and you're like,
Yeah.
like, dude, I had that.
Yes.
I had that feeling, and at the time it sucks, but I still remember being like,
yeah, I did, dude. When it happened, I wasn't mad at you or like it happening. I was in fucking shock that it happened like that because
yeah.
I heard everything. I remember being like trying to say like this is what's gonna happen. Like he's gonna back. We're gonna be here. We're gonna TP. Me and you are gonna dive. And then the next thing I fucking know is you're at the Phoenix, and I'm like,
yeah,
what the fuck? And we're like, well, we have to try to 3-man this shit now. Like it went from I was certain we were gonna win that game, and in my head, if we won that game, we beat them. And like everything that happened before then,
well, because we were gonna get the crowd too, because like it was still an NA biased crowd, right? So like even though everybody was like obviously pumped when we lost to Latim, they were also going crazy a little bit when we were like starting to like take fights off energy and stuff, because like it's just like it's an underdog story, you know?
Yep.
And I remember that happening. If I watched back all the games like maybe a year or two ago, and it's just one of those moments where I'm just like, oh my god, man, it's like painful to watch. Like you guys ever do it where you like maybe you remember like some interaction you had as a kid and you're like, oh, why did I say it? It like makes you physically cringe. It's exactly the same. Even, as dude, that.
Okay.
It's so bad.
Oh, I don't like. Just even now, I've had like some stuff happen to me like the past like 3 years, and I think about it, I'm like, why did I do that? Or like, why did this happen this way? Like, I think about it and it pains me. And then there's plays
it's
like
so
even
bad.
in Smite, like for me at the COG Invitational, we literally have 3 Phoenixes down as Geb. If I backed, we probably would have won and we would have advanced because we have 3 Phoenixes down. We're up 1-0, and it's like, oh, dude, like I think about those plays all the time. It's just like, why did I not do this better? It feels so bad. I hate it. That's
the other thing for me too. Like thinking back, I lost to every team that won Worlds for the first 4 years, I think, like or 3 years. Like the team that beat me, we lost Energy. They went on to win Worlds. The year before that was it Barracuda's team? Did they win back to back? Is that what it was?
No, you lost to Enemy and then you lost to us, I think. So maybe not season 2.
But the year
but season 4, we stopped you guys on United. We stopped you guys from making regionals, I'm pretty sure, or something like that. And then I don't.
I'm pretty sure season 2, whoever we lost to won 2. I could have sworn they went on to win.
It was Epsilon that won. Maybe you played.
Oh, it was. Okay, maybe I was thinking they made it to the finals. You
lost. Yeah. And they had that crazy set, I think.
Yeah. That was the thing. It was like I'm fucking losing to all these teams that win. If like one thing would have just gone right, or we didn't fuck up that like one area, maybe I would have been able.
Well, that's the happy ending for both of us, is that you gave me those experiences so then I could win and you got nothing out of it. But it was fine for me. It was totally fine for me.
That's another thing I get a lot where. I mean, maybe it's ego talking, but like I've played with a lot of you guys who have gone on to win Worlds, whether it be the year after or like I played with Neil, and now he, at one point he was considered one of the better supports in the game. And I get shit like, oh, look at how good these players are. Now you were holding them back. But in my mind, we were all pretty fucking bad. Like when I played, like early season 1, 2, 3, we were just bad, and people just didn't realize how bad they were. But I feel like most of the teams I was on, like people grew a lot, like got a lot better over time, or like came into their own. Because you talked about you were diamond fucking support when we first started scrimming you, and then by the time into season 3, you were good enough to play at Worlds, and we probably should have made it further in fucking Worlds.
Yeah, it is just funny to think back to as well, because I think part of it is I think back to a lot of like older players, like kind of like older as in like earlier seasons, but also older as like when I came into the league, it was very much that feeling of like, how you talk about like in traditional sports, there's like the locker rooms of like, here's the veterans who like show people how it's done. It kind of did have that vibe a little bit. Like I joined a team with like Lassus and Zap who had like been around. They're like, this is how like we scrim. This is like how you go about it. Like this is how we practice. Like Kret and I would stay after scrims and have Kret show me stuff because he would like had to catch me up to speed. So like there was like a very like professional structure to it. And I think back to that sometimes now where like for example, when I had won with United, like I was 21 years old and I was like the old guy, you know, like my teammates were 18, 17, 17, 16, and 15. Like those were my teammates. And it's just like, it is crazy because sometimes I think back to like, well, what if the LAN league had like started earlier? You know, like what if you guys were in the spot that we're in, where like, you know, now like me and Aurora are like, we're the boomers of the league, you know, like we're the ones who are like, we're like teaching people, like if we have newer teammates, like you kind of have to go through like that process. And it does make me think sometimes like your playstyle specifically, and we had said the same thing with Pern, like at that time it was such like a KDA watching like league where that's all people cared about. And like to be fair, like the two players in your role were like Andy and Adapting,
Guards.
who were nuts.
Oh, and
like,
Adapting,
and Guards too. The three of them were nuts. But like they just all happened to play the same playstyle. But that playstyle wasn't actually winning a lot of those tournaments. Like Kenneth was because energy was energy. But like other than that, like those teams weren't actually winning the most out of everybody. And I feel like if you had fast forwarded that, like I wonder how the perception of like yours and Pern's, like how that play style, I think would be a lot more appreciated now. Like Twig is kind of that way now, for example, you know?
Yeah, now it's normal. Now, like people just forgot that at one point, like at one point I was the only one doing it. And then DJ came in and he was also doing it, but with different gods. And it was like, we just did it. People thought we did it because we sucked. Like, oh, they just do that because they can't play. You know, they aren't as good as the other guys. And to be fair, like Adapting and Nanonser were fucking good, but it had nothing to do with it. Like it just happened. Like those playstyles just happened because they worked for whatever teams we were playing with.
Yeah. I didn't realize how long we've been going. I'm sorry for taking up a million of your time.
Oh, you're
but
good, dude.
There is one other thing I really want to make sure
I have one
cover.
other thing too. I wonder if it's the same thing as you that you're about to bring up. I'm curious, so I'll let you go first.
Well, let's find out. There was, I think most of your career after that was a lot of like kind of what I described. Like you kind of bounced back and forth with like a bunch of younger players. Like I don't know if you remember it this way, but like you played with like Gino, Neil, like you played with a bunch of like Gino ended up going to college and he didn't keep playing in the SPL. For people who don't know Gino, like I thought Gino was really good when he was young. Yeah, and there were like a lot of younger players you had played with. And there's one memory specifically I want to ask you. Do you remember playing us in season 5 after we had won Worlds?
No.
Okay.
I'm sure as soon as you're talking about it, I'll remember. But
so my first set, we had won Worlds in United. Okay. And we had played you guys on LG, and you picked up Gino, Vedium, and Keegs, and all three, and you and Kiki, I think, were solo jungle. And the three of them were all like, I mean, Vedium was around for a couple years, but Keegs and Gino were like relatively new, and they were both really good mechanically. They were really, really good. And we played you guys, and it was like this expectation, like the narrative was like, you guys were the worst roster in NA. We're like defending world champs. We're gonna stomp you. The first game we played against you guys, you picked Arachne. And you triple webbed red buff. And I remember thinking, like, I'm not letting it, like, Benji was in my ears, and him and Scream, they wanted to gank Kiki level 2. And Benji was like, oh yeah, like maybe we can't do it because Arachne, like she's gonna hit 2 because she's gonna web this other buff. Like, Mike, can you go check if she has web? And I'm like, say no more. I go check. And you do have web, so I'm like, oh, I'll kill these, it's not a problem. And you guys all played the corner, and I had like my Scooby-Doo moment where I was like, ruh-roh, and I just see everyone comes from around. I'm trying to kill these webs, and Panda Cat was my hunter, and he'll make fun of me all the time too. This is kind of like your calm moment at season 3 Worlds, Aurora, when you're on blue buff. I did the same thing because the webs were on me, and I had all these spiders beating my ass, and Panda was right behind me, and I was like, kill the spiders, kill the spiders. I was like freaking out. I got first blooded. You guys were playing with a sub as well. I'm pretty sure Oceans was subbing for Vedium. Vedium wasn't there. So we were like, we won Worlds, and our first set after, our like, I would always joke, I'm like, yeah, if our support just didn't die to Arachne webs, like who knows what would have happened.
It's funny too, because I remember saying like they're gonna mess with these spiders, but I don't remember like exact timeline, but I remember we were kind of hanging out around the spiders, and then we were like, he's not coming. Like, fuck this, he's not coming. So everyone had just started to walk away when you walked into him. And I'm like, he just fucking walked in the spiders. And then like
I tried to wait for so long. I'm pretty sure Gino like barely saw me out of the corner of his eyes, and you guys all turned.
Well, it was like we turned, but we didn't think anything was gonna happen. And then I realized my spiders were fucking you up. And I'm like, bro, like, go, like he's getting destroyed. And I remember I've watched it back at some point, and fucking Panda almost died of the spiders too.
He nearly died. Yeah.
Yeah, that shit.
And then later in that game or that set, I don't know if it was the game or the set, he also got soloed by Oceans, who was subbing for you guys at the time. He wasn't even your main roster ADC. And like, I can't do Benji's voice. He's like so monotone, but it was so funny after that set. Benji was like, yo guys, what the fuck is my duo lane doing? Because he like watched the VOD. He's like, what are you guys doing, bro? And it was so good.
Dude, I've heard that way too many times from Benji playing with him. Me doing stupid things.
I love it, man. I love it.
Okay, there's two things. That spider story just reminded me of another thing. But season 4, I don't know if you remember. I always wanted to hear your side of this because I talked to Cyclone about it. But like after DJ stopped playing and he went to med school, I remember me and Zap and Bess were still playing, and we wanted to get you and Cyclone on our team. I think you guys were still in ALG, and I think Zap messaged you, and I was talking to Cyclone a little bit as well about it. And Cyclone said that you were talking you were talking to Zap, and you're gonna see what happened. And we never ended up teaming together, but it almost happened. I remember what happened with that. Do you remember anything with that?
The opening of that was like Zap was making you already had Eager. He was like, I want to make another team. And the problem with that was we knew everything that happened with the money and Lassus and Eager and Zap and all that. Like we knew all that shit was happening behind the scenes because Lassus would tell us. So when he messaged me, I sat there and I thought about it. I'm pretty sure I told Cyclone like, hey, this is what Zap wants to do. And both of our reaction was kind of like, well, he like in our mind, he had fucked over teammates before. Not like you know, not in terms of competitive, but he was willing to do that with money and hide that shit. And I was very much like, I'm business. I'm about making money. So we contemplated it. And I was actually like leaning towards like, fuck it, let's just do it. Cause like that roster sounded kind of nuts at the time. And then I don't know what Cyclone said. He didn't say no, but he said something. And when he said it, I read it and I was like, yeah, I'm not fucking doing it. I'm not even gonna like, I'm just not gonna figure out. I don't want to know how this plays out. So fuck it. Like that was my mindset. It wasn't even the roster was sounded dope to me, but the idea of like owning an org on my own and like being in it with somebody else, like 50-50 also kind of was like, I don't know if I want to do that. I'd rather just, you know, play it out. Maybe down the line, I own my own. So I think that's why that happened. That's what I remember at least.
Do you mind if I say the ALG like contract situation as well?
I mean, you can talk about anything. Yeah.
It's nothing like crazy, but I think you remind me of it because when we had re-signed with ALG in season 4, at the time you guys were talking about I had like left the team or like quit, whatever it was. We actually got like a really good, compared to like most of the league, we had a really good contract because you were streaming a lot and then Cyclone streamed, like I streamed a little bit, but I mean, obviously you were like the biggest streamer on the team, like in the game by far. So we actually had like a really nice contract. And back then it was really hard to get orgs to sponsor teams. Like it'll come up every now and then from people who weren't around back then, but like it was really uncommon to find an org that like was good enough to like not just like give you money, but like it wasn't really about that. It was like they were pretty responsive in my opinion. Like they were really good about like handling stuff with us. I remember when I had joined the team, you guys were in the process of getting like the Athena skin. I remember they were super good at like sending like feedback back and forth with that. Like they were a really, really like solid org back then. And that was really hard to come by. And I think for like Cyclone especially, like it's pretty hard. Like if you're not super sure about a roster decision, it's really hard to like want to leave an org like that.
I think a lot of people don't know this too. I pretty much had one of the highest contracts forever, like from the beginning of Smite. With Envy, we somehow negotiated like a salary 3 times higher than what was the normal. Then with ALG, we had a good one. And then when we did well, like our team made it to Worlds, we came out of that. And I don't know if you remember, but we had multiple teams. There was more than one org that wanted to sign us. I was in calls for hours with ALG. The other org, I know the girl who was running it. She now works at TikTok because she actually got me my TikTok stream stuff set up.
That's cool.
But Yeah, and then there was another one, and they were just all for. It was like crazy at the time. It was crazy money. I think it was. I know on Envy it was $1,600 a month, but back then that was crazy. You paid for playing games was crazy.
Yeah, if you got an org to sign you for like 400 a month, like that was crazy.
Yeah, 400 or 500 was the normal. So we were at 1,600 with them, and then when we went into those negotiations, I was negotiating like $2,300 and $2,400 between these three orgs. So I remember that being crazy. And then the idea of owning my org, the big thing was the skins you brought up. They were bringing in good money.
Yeah.
In season 2, we made 30K off of our skin.
That was like AFK Nem or NVM, whatever it was.
Yeah. So we made good money off of it. So I was thinking like that aspect, and then salaries, and then I was also worried about you guys. Like I wasn't just negotiating mine at the time. I was negotiating what every single one of you should be paid. So it was very weird to handle that, and then also have the like the thought process of like I could go start an org with Zap, and he's at the time was the other big content creator. He's been a big content creator forever. So that was weird. It's like because I wanted to do it, but it was also just too sketchy to me that I couldn't jump into it and commit to it.
One thing I want to say is I feel like like Zap, I feel like didn't get his full side of the story out. I feel like how things happened with like people getting screwed over and stuff, like if you learned more about it, like more of it makes sense. I feel like it never really got talked about. I don't want to get into it because it's not like my business, but I don't think it's as bad as everybody thinks it is. Like at the end of the day,
it probably isn't, but I saw it from the friend point of view.
Yeah,
because we were the ones that told someone in the house he was living in how much we made, and he had no clue that money even existed. So at that moment, like if someone sent me 30K, I'm telling my team, like, hey guys, like when we got our 30K, I'm like, guys, we just made 6K each. Like this shit's fucking crazy. So I'm sure there's always two sides to every story, but that was what I knew at the time. And it was like, okay, even then I remember thinking like, maybe it wasn't as bad. Maybe I should do this, but also I'm going to give up $2,400 a month, an org that cared about us. I was friends with the owner at that point. So it was just it would have been a really risky decision for me to make at the time.
It made sense to me, like, because that's basically what Cyclone said. You guys were just in a really good spot with your org, and you guys also thought your team was pretty good still at the time, because I think you guys, is that when you just picked Neil up?
Yeah, they had just gotten Neil.
Yeah.
And you guys were doing okay, I think. So you guys thought your team was so it made a lot of sense what you didn't do, but I was always curious because I remember like it almost happened for like a couple days. I remember.
Yeah. No, I was closer to doing it than anyone probably. I don't think I ever talked about it much outside of just messaging Cyclone. Like it was just I talked to him and I sat on it for a day, and then I was just like, nah, I don't think I'm gonna do this. Like this isn't what I want to do right now. But it wasn't because of the roster. The roster I liked. It was just everything else surrounding it.
Yeah, it makes sense.
At the time too, that was when my stream started to grow, and I was older than you guys, so I was planning like saving for a house and everything else. So I was like, yeah, I'm just gonna stick with what I know.
Were you married at that point?
No, I don't think. No, I don't think so.
Were you guys engaged when I played with you?
Yeah, probably.
It was pretty close to around then. Yeah,
I think we were. Yeah, so it was like I was just at a whole different like point than like it was just. I bet you if I was younger and like all about the like risky shit, like let's just win and figure it out, I probably would have done that shit.
And then the other thing I wanted to bring up was season 5. It was the year we did really well. I think you're the only team that beat us like every set in the regular season when you guys were LG. For some reason, no matter what our records were, like we were last place in the first split, like Splice was garbage, like the first, and you guys crushed us, like both games we played you. Second split, we were like 1 game off LAN, and I think you guys beat us both times when we were at the beach house, and you were like the only team that beat us when we went to Kabam's place to like play SPL. And for some reason, you guys, you just had our number that year. I don't know what it was, but every single split, and then even fall split, that's when we were like crushing everybody. We still found a way to lose to you, even when we picked up Moswell.
We would talk about it. Like we would lose games that we thought we should win, but we knew we played you. It's like we don't know why. You guys were good too. And when you were at the beach house, I remember we would talk about like these dudes they're landing. Like they're fucking serious about this shit. This is not gonna be easy, but we just knew. Like I don't know what it was. I even to this day, even when it happened, we knew we would win, but we never knew why. It wasn't like, our lane was gonna beat some lane and we were gonna play around it. It just like the games played out like that every time.
I think I know why.
Oh, do you?
Yeah. As a Geno believer, he just had that dog in him.
Oh,
That's really all.
okay.
That's really all it is.
Okay, dude. I've just gone through so much shit. Like you brought up Gino. One of the I don't know what year it was. One of the years going into the LAN, he swapped to mid because I mean you guys know him. He had like his ego was as big as mine, if not 10 times bigger. We get the LAN, and that man for that that confidence was gone. Like I think it was his first LAN ever, and I think it was a shock for him. And I was so over like you talk about. I played with new player after new player. By the time I got to that, I was
that
so
your
fucking
cat?
over it. Oh yeah, she's down here. It's
Oh.
Sammy's cat. I don't call her my
Oh.
cat.
You don't like
She's
her?
meowing at me. I like her, but she doesn't do anything. She just fucking sits down here. Now she bugs me too when I'm streaming. She'll like claw my leg. She never did this
Oh,
for
she wants
fucking
attention.
years.
You gotta scratch her little head.
I do. She's a fucking pain in my ass though. But yeah, like I played with so many new players up to that point that when he shut down, I think that was when I was so over like playing with new players. That season was like when I hated it. I couldn't stand it from them on out because there's just a development process you go through when you start playing at lands. You went through it. I mean, Aurora, I know you like yours was earlier than that, but like everyone goes through it, and I couldn't do it with the new players anymore. Like it just wasn't fun for me to wait for. It's like I'm waiting for them to grow up, and I just couldn't fucking do it.
It definitely it is hard for sure.
Yeah, thanks so much for coming on.
Yep.
Do you have what are you working on? Do you have anything that you want to shout out? I know I saw that you have like your new like weekend, what is it called? Like Weekend Life channel or something where you did.
Oh yeah, I mean I
stream
started
live
vlogging. Yeah, I started doing real life stuff, but now I'm like I fixed my sleep schedule finally after 10 years of this shit.
That's crazy.
And I'm waking up early. I'm waking up at like 8 or 9 a.m. So I'm streaming during the day, hanging out with my family because I have a son now during like the middle of the day, and then streaming in at night. So my schedule is just back to fucking work and doing my thing. I mean, I'm doing all the little things that I've been doing for years, tweak stuff out, but nothing crazy. I mean, for me and gaming and like this shit, it's my everyday stuff, and then I wait for Worlds where I get to have fun and do crazy, get to have all the crazy fun, and then go back to doing this all year long again.
You're one of the all-time grinders for sure. Like in terms of this, like you were like one of the first people that I feel like really take like streaming to like the next level. Where you realize like I enjoy this, I'm good at this, like I could make a living out of it. So yeah, it's been really cool to see. Like I don't know if you guys ever talk about this Aurora on your teams, but like it's kind of cool to me. Like especially days where we play a double block, I'm like, yeah, we'll play at like 11 to whatever, and then we'll scrim through the night. And like, I'll turn on streams just like here and there, like between blocks, and like to see people like you who are just like, it just brings back all the memories where I'm like, damn, like we've all just been playing Smite for like a decade. Like it is really crazy to think about. And even when people are doing their own thing, it's so funny. I think I played a couple rank games with you at the start of this year.
Yeah.
And people were like, not to make fun of them, but people are like, do you think Weak3n could still play SPL? I'm like,
yeah, dude. Oh my god.
I'm like, dude, can we just enjoy stuff for what it is? Like, I'm just like, he did all of that. Like, he's still like, you can watch him. Like, he's still a good player, but like, just let the man like live his life. Like, he's just
when
like,
that happened, somebody either they clipped it or they came in and told me, and they're like, yeah, someone's asking Mike this shit. I'm like, bro, leave them alone. Let the fucking just fucking do their thing.
It's so dumb, man. It's like at what point, like, I don't know, people love it, but like at some point you're done. Like you've proven like everything you have to prove. Like who cares? I don't know.
I mean, I also don't think people realize how intertwined. Like you were saying, we've all played this game for so long, and it wasn't like we used to go to LANs a lot, like when it was new. So we were all talking and hanging out. There'd be sometimes 20 of us in a room, especially with the first couple of years.
For sure.
Everyone, well, maybe not best friends. Like everyone has their stories and their relationships together. So I don't know why people fucking do that shit or bug you guys with it, because I'm just trying to stream. I still get it because you play in the SPL. I'm like, these guys are fucking nuts. Like it's just not even worth like entertaining, because you guys are just doing like you're doing your thing and I'm doing mine.
Yeah,
we're all playing the same
respect. Yeah, we're doing different things in the same game. It's cool.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that's it. Thank you again for your time. I appreciate it. I
appreciate you guys.
Yeah, you guys can next week we will be back on Aurora's channel every week. We'll be doing the podcast. We'll be on Saturdays, I think, during the off season. You can find the VODs every Thursday on my YouTube, which is youtube.com/@PBMSmite. And I think inside the SPL on Spotify. And of course, like if you guys don't know where you can find Weekend, you're living under a rock. But yeah, you find Weekend at twitch.tv/Weekend is Twitter. You guys know all of it. But yeah, thank you
I'm
again
gonna shout
so
you
much.
guys out real quick too, because I was watching them for weeks. Like I didn't message Mike or anything, but I'd been watching your all shit like on and off. I watched your Cyclone one. I know I watched your first one when it was happening. And you guys do a good job. Both of you are
Appreciate
you
it.
have you both have your different styles of talking, your different storytelling, your different energy. You guys are doing a good fucking job with this. I like it a lot. So people should
Appreciate
check
it.
into your
Means a
stuff.
lot.
It's also we mentioned this beginning. I mentioned again. It's like stories that people probably won't ever know of. Like
Yeah.
most of the shit we talked
I
about
didn't
tonight,
even know
there's-
that bathroom story. I'd never
Yeah.
heard that in my life.
Yeah,
It's
so it's a
crazy.
whole version of Smite you got like people can get into every with each person you bring in. So I think it's good. You know, everyone should go follow, check it out. You post it on YouTube too, like you said, it's Twitch. You
Yeah.
watch the Twitch, you watch on YouTube, whatever. So definitely worth. I appreciate you guys having me on here.
Yeah, thanks again. Take care, everybody. I appreciate it.
Bye bye.
Yes, sir.
One if I'm trolling from Professor BM. You can hear the audience. I